Hermione, travel through time to Marvel to be the savior. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, A Daily Day at Hogwarts. After completing the task, Hermione was ready to run away. Although she now has a good relationship with Harry and Ron, and they experienced danger together last night, she is cautious and still wants to be alone. Unfortunately, the tree wants to be quiet but the wind does not stop. The annoying Malfoy saw Hermione and Harry and Ron together, and he was immediately furious. He walked over quickly and said arrogantly, "Harry, Ron, stay away from Miss Hermione. She is not worthy of you country bumpkins." Hermione blinked her eyes, and her pretty face was stunned. This Malfoy is too hypocritical. She was also born a commoner. In the original play, Hermione was a genetic mutation, and her parents were both Muggles. Logically, her status should be much lower than that of Harry and Ron. Is it because Hermione is beautiful? If it is just because of her appearance, then why does Hermione add Loki? Wouldn't it be better to directly add the basic attributes to charm and pretty? Malfoy's words made Harry and Ron's faces turn very ugly on the spot. Malfoy, don't make trouble for no reason. Ron couldn't stand Malfoy's provocation because he had a special feeling for Hermione. Malfoy laughed and said, "Am I wrong again? How can you two be worthy of the beautiful Ms. Hermione?" Seeing the conflict escalate further, Hermione felt that she could not remain calm. Unexpectedly, Senior Wood came out this time. "What's the matter? What are you arguing about?" Wood was carrying a birdcage. He was handsome and strong. He was full of oppression when he came. Malfoy was speechless for a moment. Malfoy was not stupid. Wood was a senior student of Gryffindor. If a fight really broke out, Wood would definitely help the students of his own branch. Harry was not a coward. He said directly, "It's okay, it's just a chattering clown." Humphrey, a good man never suffers a loss. Seeing that the other side had more people, Malfoy was ready to leave. Wood would not argue with a little brat Malfoy. He took out the birdcage and handed it to Hermione, saying, "I accidentally killed your pet cockroach yesterday. I'm giving it to you as an apology." Wood, like Harry, was a bit straight-minded. He didn't carefully ask Hermione what she liked in advance, and gave her something he thought was good. Because Wood observed that Hermione didn't have an owl, so this pet, which was almost standard for magic students, was naturally very useful. Wood didn't know that Hermione didn't bother to keep a pet because she was afraid of trouble. Okay then. Hermione didn't know what to say, so she could only accept it. Malfoy, who was standing by, looked over and instantly became jealous. Why did Wood give Hermione something? What is Miss Hermione's cockroach? Why did Malfoy know Miss Hermione better than an outsider? No, Malfoy decided that he would give Hermione gifts every day from now on. Miss Hermione was his, and others couldn't even look at her twice. But at this moment, Wood was tall and strong, so Malfoy avoided the edge and left angrily. "Harry, after dinner we will go to Quidditch training." Wood still cares more about this. Okay, Harry agreed. Next, he will take time to practice Quidditch. As the youngest seeker in Gryffindor, Harry soon became famous in Hogwarts. Not only many first-year students discussed him, but even the ghosts of Hogwarts were discussing Harry Potter. Hermione felt that it was not a solution to keep avoiding him. Malfoy's behavior had caused her trouble. After adding the basic attributes obtained in the morning to Loki, Magic +1, Health +1, Loki +4, Agility +1, Defense +2, now Hermione is almost the same as ordinary people when she walks on the road. Passers-by rarely pay special attention to Miss Hermione. It seems that continuing to be Loki still has some effect. Malfoy was very happy to see Miss Hermione take the initiative to find him. "Miss Hermione, you came to me," Hermione said seriously. "Malfoy, don't worry, I won't fall in love with anyone before I reach adulthood. So don't say some inexplicable things to my classmates for no reason in the future." Malfoy looked at Hermione in front of him, and for some reason, he felt that the light on her body was much dimmer, as if it was a beautiful scenery on the horizon. After seeing it too much, The initial sense of surprise and excitement was gone. However, when he closed his eyes and opened them again, he could find that Miss Hermione was still the most beautiful girl. "As long as you don't stay with Harry and Ron, I won't cause any more trouble," Malfoy said bluntly. "I hate both of them." At this point, Malfoy suddenly said, "What's the matter with that Oliver Wood? Why did he send you an owl?" Hermione was a little speechless and said, "What's it to you?" Malfoy approached Hermione, and Hermione took out her wand and pointed the bouncing bomb at Malfoy's nose. Hermione had wanted to do this scene for a long time, and she even kept reciting a spell, which was to blow Malfoy's hair into a chicken coop. Malfoy looked at Hermione's angry look, which was also so beautiful, with such vivid facial features, as if it was the best masterpiece of God. Cute nose, firm eyes, charming lips. How can there be such a beautiful and cute girl in this world? Although Malfoy is a little more domineering than Ron, the rich second generation will also be soft-hearted when they meet true love. He began to sort out his emotions and said, "If my behavior makes you unhappy, I apologize. But I won't change, because you are the first girl that I, Malfoy, have a crush on, and you can only be mine." Hermione laughed angrily. "You are so shameless," Malfoy still asked. "You threw away the owl that Wood gave you. That kind of hybrid owl is too cheap and doesn't match your beauty. If you need it, I can give it to you." Hermione felt that it was a wrong decision for her to come to Malfoy. "You are simply sick." No longer paying attention to this Malfoy, Hermione turned around and left. As a beautiful girl, she was simply helpless when she met such an unreasonable boy. If Malfoy makes Hermione angry again next time, Hermione will definitely retaliate. She will use the most vicious spell to let him taste the consequences of offending a witch. Malfoy's two followers, two very fat and funny characters, don't look very smart. They are Crabbe and Goyle. Malfoy looked at Hermione's back with fascination, and asked Crabbe and Goyle, "Have you noticed that Miss Hermione is so cute?" Crabbe and Goyle only had food in their eyes, and women were like wood to them. So Crabbe and Goyle replied, "That's because you like her, Master Malfoy. In our eyes, she is just a little prettier than ordinary girls, and other than that, she is not as attractive as food." Malfoy rolled his eyes. "You two idiots." Malfoy began to prepare a gift for Hermione tomorrow. Malfoy had never liked a girl so much before, but he was very unhappy when he saw others giving Hermione gifts. When Malfoy was preparing the gift, he also put on the green hat that Hermione gave him, took it out and smelled it affectionately, as if he could smell the sweet taste of Miss Hermione. "No, Hermione's green hat can only be owned by me." Malfoy began to think of bad ideas. He wanted to snatch Ron and Harry's green hats and take them for himself. Chapter 27 Nicholas Flamel and Dumbledore. Malfoy's idea was bold and avant-garde. He was undoubtedly trapped in the swamp of emotions. As for Hermione, she had accumulated +4 points of low-key because of Malfoy's troubles. She had to say that she still felt a little regretful. Was she too cautious? Forget it. It was done. There was no point in thinking so much. When school was over in the afternoon, Harry still couldn't let go of everything he saw in the Forbidden Corridor last night, so he decided to talk to Hagrid. Hagrid was the keykeeper and gamekeeper in Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Because he was half-blooded with a giant, there were usually few students coming to his place. Harry and Ron often acted together. Hermione didn't want to participate, but the system option didn't seem to intend to let Hermione go. Option 1. Go with Harry and Ron to see what Hagrid said about the three-headed dog behind the Forbidden Corridor. Complete the task and reward basic attribute +1. Option 2. Find Principal Dumbledore to discuss the possibility of Voldemort stealing the Philosopher's Stone. Complete the task and reward a three-headed dog. Option 3. Go wash your hair, blow it up like an adult. Complete the task, and get a beautiful hairpin as a reward. Except for option 3, it's quite speechless. Both options 2 and 1 are good. Hermione doesn't want to keep a pet because she thinks owls and toads are useless. If there is a mighty and domineering three-headed dog, it will probably give her a lot of sense of security. But Hermione still doesn't want to be directly exposed in front of Headmaster Dumbledore. She still likes to be a little transparent and just eat melons every day. So, in order to maximize the benefits, It's better to take action in option 1. Harry and Ron were a little surprised to see Hermione appear beside them. Harry's pupils behind his glasses could feel that Hermione's temperament seemed to be more restrained. If it was a passerby who passed by, he would probably ignore the fact that a moving flower just passed by. Of course, people like Ron who have been poisoned are naturally not among them. Hermione, you're here. Hermione smiled and said, I guess you guys are going to ask Hagrid about the three-headed dog in the Forbidden Corridor. I'm curious too. Hermione wasn't sure if the two of them were going to ask about this, so she greeted them in advance and guided them. Harry praised Hermione, you're just smart. The three of them came to Hagrid together. He was busy working, and he was still very happy when he saw Harry. Of course, when he saw Hermione and Ron, he was also relieved that Harry could make good friends so quickly in Hogwarts. After Harry looked at his companions Ron and Hermione, he asked Hagrid, Hagrid, last night we saw a ferocious three-headed dog locked in the Forbidden Corridor on the 4th floor. Is it guarding the things we took out of Gringotts? Hagrid's tall body immediately became solemn. Hagrid looked around and saw that there was no outsider. He immediately said carefully, Harry, who told you about this? There are things belonging to Headmaster Dumbledore. Oh, I shouldn't say too much. I shouldn't say too much. Hagrid is like an NPC in the game, who comes out to remind the player of some important information when necessary. Principal Dumbledore? The two little guys didn't expect that this matter was actually related to Headmaster Dumbledore. Hagrid, we know it's not good for us to accidentally enter the Forbidden Corridor, but the school shouldn't lock up such a dangerous three-headed dog. Hearing Harry say such important information again, Hagrid was stunned and said, You saw my little pet Fluffy. I lent it to Headmaster Dumbledore to guard something important. This thing is related to Nicholas Flamel. Oh my god, I let it slip again. I deserve to die. Hagrid warned Harry, Don't try to trick me again, or I'll get angry and kick you all out. Hagrid, who is Nicholas Flamel? Hagrid kept his mouth shut and didn't say anything more. Hermione also successfully completed the task. Congratulations on completing the option 1 task. Reward basic attribute +1, without Malfoy to make people angry. Hermione added this precious 1 point to magic. Magic +2, health +1, low-key +4, agility +1, defense +2. Hagrid was unwilling to reveal any useful information, so Harry and Ron began to analyze it. Nicholas Flamel must be the key information. Harry said, Perhaps we can find out what is hidden in the Forbidden Corridor on the 4th floor from Nicholas Flamel. Hermione's self-preserving character was stimulated again. I think Mr. Hagrid's unwillingness to tell us means that this matter will be dangerous, so I suggest you don't investigate it any further. Ron asked curiously, Hermione, you sometimes behave very strangely, you know. Sometimes, you are very afraid of trouble and always hide far away, but sometimes, you are very bold, bolder than me and Harry. Ron was still observing very carefully. Hermione was helpless. If it weren't for the system option task, she might even be just an ordinary student with Ron and Harry, the kind who would not say more than 2 words when they met in a day. Well, since you want to die, I won't stop you. I'm going to sleep, Hermione said and turned to leave. Ron looked at Hermione's back and asked curiously, Are all girls like this? Harry shook his head. I don't know. Hermione did not return to the dormitory. If there is no pet hospital, or if there is no regular bathing and deworming, it is easy for pets to be infested with worms. Hermione carefully checked the feathers of the owl that Senior Wood gave her, and found that it was covered with small insects. Her scalp suddenly tingled. Originally, she planned to give this pet to Harry or Ron. Anyway, they were boys and were not afraid of this. But Hermione also had to think more, such as the uncertain Malfoy. If he knew that she and Ron were so close, it was unknown whether he would cause any trouble in the future. So, after careful consideration, Hermione decided to release it. Owls in the magic world have strong survival ability in the wild. Even without artificial breeding, they can live well. So Hermione found a windowsill near the forest, first found some dried fruits, fed this owl with no destiny, and then sent it on its way. Opening the birdcage, Hermione said to the owl, You are free, your world is the sea of stars. The owl looked back at Hermione as if he understood, and finally flew away. After all, this owl has no feelings for Hermione. It was bought as a pet for Hermione to make amends. Now that Hermione let it go, it certainly wouldn't miss it. After solving a problem, Hermione felt as light as a swallow. She was just about to turn around and go to the cafeteria to eat, being a loyal eater. Today, she went out and found some money, so she went to eat something good. Unexpectedly, when she turned around, she ran into the Headmaster Dumbledore. You know, it's not so easy to see Headmaster Dumbledore normally. It was fate that they met today. Observing closely, Dumbledore is indeed very kind. He let the Vice-Headmaster Professor McGonagall do the things of punishing students and offending people, so Headmaster Dumbledore can be a good guy. Which owl do you dislike? It looks pretty good, Dumbledore asked. Maybe Dumbledore doesn't know Hermione's name yet. After all, except for Harry Potter, Hermione, who can be recognized at a glance and is a beautiful heroine, does not have this privilege. Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 The One and Only Ms. Hermione. Because an owl had just been released, the soft wind from the forest blew in through the open window, making Hermione's long hair flutter, her delicate features, and her restrained temperament all look unique. It's not that I don't like it, but I'm lazy. I can't even take care of it myself, and I don't have time to take care of a pet. Dumbledore couldn't help laughing when he heard Hermione's answer. When other classmates have pets, don't you envy them? Hermione said surprisingly. Why should I envy? The best one is the one that suits you. Dumbledore didn't expect that this 11-year-old beauty in front of him could have such an open-minded personality. Not only is she beautiful, but her big watery eyes are also full of extraordinary wisdom. After parting with Dumbledore, Hermione went to eat alone. Just when she missed Harry and Ron, Malfoy got the advantage. Malfoy was now shameless and came directly to sit opposite Hermione with food in his arms. Hermione rolled her eyes and said, "Do you think you are annoying?" Malfoy smiled handsomely and said, "There are so many people who hate me, but you are the most special one." He bought drinks and various foods for Hermione. Hermione found some money today. Although the food is innocent, it depends on who feeds her. If it is Harry and Ron, then Hermione will not be polite. But Malfoy still forgets it. If you eat a bite of his food, he can bite off a piece of your meat. After Hermione finished her meal, she left. Malfoy's followers Crabbe and Goyle. They are the Iron Men among straight men, two funny guys who are not interested in women at all. They watched Hermione leave with emotion and said to Malfoy, "Boss, Miss Hermione doesn't give you face. If she doesn't eat, let's not waste it. We will eat it." Then they started to eat without hesitation. In the eyes of Crabbe and Goyle, food is much more important than girls. Malfoy was in a bad mood, but this just inspired his fighting spirit. This is how you should treat a woman you like. If you get her too easily, then there is no point. Besides, they are still young now. If they really want to fall in love, they have to wait for a few years. Now they are just getting to know each other and leaving a good impression. Hermione didn't expect Malfoy to be so persistent. Girls are very emotional creatures. They are willing to be infinitely tolerant of those they like, but they feel uncomfortable and disgusted to breathe the same air with those they hate. Malfoy's appearance is indeed good and handsome, but the few annoying things Malfoy did really made Hermione feel that he was disgusting. Night fell, and today was obviously much less than the first day. Hermione sighed. This is like an ordinary student life. After washing up, Hermione put perfume on her face. A passerby roommate came to ask for advice. "Hermione, you are so beautiful and your skin is so smooth and tender. How do you maintain it?" Of course Hermione would not say that it was natural, because that would be too Versailles. Hermione simply concluded, "You should always take care of your skin. Keep a good mood, don't stay up late, eat more fruits, etc." The roommates who passed by hurriedly took out their notebooks to write it down. Of course, There were also more gossipy female roommates who asked, "We saw that you had dinner with Harry Potter and Ron in the morning, and with Malfoy in the afternoon. Which one do you like more?" Ms. Hermione answered honestly without hesitation, "I like myself more." The roommates who passed by were all impressed. Of course, Hermione didn't fall asleep so quickly. She still opened the elementary magic book and continued to study and recite. She had to work harder than Hermione in the original play, and she would never turn back on the road of being a female academic bully. The next day, when the warm sun was shining on her buttocks, Hermione got up with the roommates who passed by. It was rare that Hermione finally didn't have to be a female man and was with boys all day. In fact, if the actress in the original play was not beautiful and cute, Hermione's behavior of being in pairs with two boys all day was actually quite alternative. Most of the time, unless they are in love, boys play with boys in school. Girls play with girls. If a girl is with a boy all day, she will be regarded as an indecent girl and a tomboy by other boys. She will also be pointed at by girls. So the setting of Hermione in the original play is actually not very pleasing. Fortunately, Hermione here successfully got along with her roommates. Today, Hermione and her female roommate entered the classroom together. Hermione has low-key +4, even if it is the most beautiful scenery on the road. There are fewer people discussing Hermione along the way, although there are still many boys who like to look at beautiful women and stare at Hermione. However, Hermione, who has been a beautiful girl in 2 lives, has long been accustomed to it. I thought today was a calm day, and I didn't want the system option to make trouble again. A transparent pop-up window appeared in front of Hermione. Option 1. Go to the library and help Harry and Ron find information about Nicholas Flamel. Completing the task will reward you with +1 basic attribute. Option 2. Attend class quietly, get out of class quietly, eat quietly, and complete the task will reward you with 1 roll of toilet paper. Option 3. Talk to Professor Snape about his first love, complete the task, and reward you with 1 apple. There is no doubt that among these 3 options, Option 1 is more reliable. Both toilet paper and apples are too ordinary. Every time Hermione touched the space ring on her finger, she wondered when she could get flying swords, immortal cultivation techniques, elixirs and other treasures again. But, speaking of it, isn't the Philosopher's Stone related to Nicholas Flamel something that can create immortality? During the break, Hermione ran to the library, relying on her beauty and sweetness, and asking seniors for help. She soon found books about Nicholas Flamel. Then Hermione came to Ron and Harry at lunch. "Boss, Miss Hermione went to see Harry Potter again." Malfoy's men Crabbe and Goyle began to complain. They knew that the boss Malfoy had been particularly concerned about Ms. Hermione recently. Malfoy crushed the biscuits in his hand, thinking that Ms. Hermione hated him for being jealous of her in public and causing trouble. So Malfoy finally chose to endure it. "Don't worry about them. Are you ready for the gifts I asked you to prepare?" Malfoy is a young master, and some things only need to be done by his men. Pets, clothes and jewelry are all ready, but some snacks are missing. Malfoy was furious. "I warned you not to steal the gifts I prepared for Miss Hermione, you 2 idiots, good-for-nothings." Malfoy easily guessed that it must be Crabbe and Goyle who stole the food. These 2 good-for-nothings are not interested in women, money, honor and status, but they can't control themselves when it comes to food. However, Malfoy knew what kind of people his followers were, and he was too lazy to bother with them. Hermione continued to work hard on her optional tasks. Ron's eyes lit up every time he saw Hermione. Harry's affection for Hermione was also deepening, but Harry would not show it. Hermione smiled and said, "I was flipping through a book today and found a good thing. You guys take a look." As she said that, Hermione was flipping through the book, and in front of Ron and Harry, she stretched out her white and delicate finger and pointed at the legendary introduction of Nicholas Flamel in the book. "New book, please support. Thank you everyone." Chapter 29 Halloween. "What is this?" Ron and Harry were both stunned, looking at the beautiful and mischievous Miss Hermione in front of them. Hermione said, "Don't you want to know about Nicholas Flamel?" "Nicholas Flamel is extraordinary. In the magic world, He is almost immortal, his alchemy has reached the pinnacle, and his most proud work is the Philosopher's Stone. Now Nicholas Flamel has successfully lived to 665 years old with the help of the power of the Philosopher's Stone, and even his wife has lived to 658 years old, a full 6 to 7 centuries. It's amazing, and the power of the Philosopher's Stone is not only to make people immortal, but also to turn stones into gold. Whether for those who want to be immortal or for those who want to get rich, this Philosopher's Stone is a priceless treasure. Ron exclaimed, "Why did Nicholas Flamel give such a powerful thing to Headmaster Dumbledore?" Harry's eyes behind his glasses flashed with wisdom and said, "I guess Nicholas Flamel must be afraid of something." Who would a person who has lived for more than 600 years be afraid of? Harry accurately guessed something. Perhaps it is the man that the entire wizarding world is terrified of, Voldemort. Voldemort is indeed terrifying. His name has an air-conditioning effect. Even if you just say it, you will feel the hairs all over your body trembling and goosebumps coming. Voldemort needs the Philosopher's Stone, and Nicholas Flamel is afraid. So he gave the Philosopher's Stone to the respected Headmaster Dumbledore for safekeeping. Originally, the Philosopher's Stone was hidden in 713 Greenots in Diagon Alley. Hagrid received a commission from Headmaster Dumbledore and took it out. The more Harry reasoned, the more excited he became, because he gradually knew the whole context of the matter. Then keep it in the Forbidden Corridor on the 4th floor of the school, and let Hagrid's pet three-headed dog Fluffy guard it. Ron praised, "Harry, you can be a famous detective. Your reasoning is simply flawless. Congratulations on completing Option 1 task. Reward basic attribute +1. Hermione saw that her task was completed, and closed the book and said, "Well, since you already know Nicholas Flamel, I think I should return this book to the librarian." Okay. Although Ron wanted to stay with Hermione for a while, he couldn't find a suitable reason. When Hermione went to return the book, she added this precious basic attribute to agility. Maybe Hermione wanted to make her reaction speed faster. After the addition, her overall attribute situation, magic +2, health +1, low-key +4, agility +2, defense +2, maybe it's not too little. All aspects of the body feel good, they have all improved. When I came back, I met Malfoy, who brought Crabbe and Goyle, as well as a lot of gifts. It seemed like a big show. His appearance successfully triggered Miss Hermione's new system options. Option 1. Accept Malfoy's gift and say anything else? Complete the task and get a flying broomstick. Option 2. Reject Malfoy's gift and scold him for being crazy. Complete the task and get a poisoned apple. Option 3. Avoid Malfoy and don't let him find you. Complete the task and get a towel. This. Miss Hermione was confused. How could such a confusing situation occur? It was too much of a headache. What should I choose? It seemed very tangled. Hermione thought about it again and again, and finally faced Malfoy against her will. "Hermione, this is a gift I carefully selected for you. Please accept it." Malfoy looked very happy. Others gave Ms. Hermione gifts one by one, but Malfoy was rich and gave her gifts in piles. "Just ask. Which girl in the world doesn't like it?" "Anything else?" Hermione's voice was clear. "As beautiful as her." Malfoy was surprised for a moment. He thought he had heard it wrong. "Ms. Hermione, what are you talking about?" Hermione was desperate. She took all the gifts and made them disappear like a magic trick. In fact, she put them directly into the space ring. Then she asked, "Anything else?" Crabbe and Goyle beside Malfoy were also shocked. They had expected Miss Hermione to refuse and even smash Malfoy's gift, but they never thought that she would ask for anything else. "Anything else? Anything else? Anything else?" "That's it, Humphrey. Congratulations on completing the task Option 1, and get a flying broom as a reward." Hermione, who completed the task, turned around and left without saying a word. Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle were left in a mess. They were stunned and seemed to be still trying to figure out what had just happened. "Boss, this situation is not right." Malfoy's face turned pale and blue. After a long while, he felt better and said, "Forget it. Let's go." To be honest, Hermione's reaction today really surprised Malfoy. In his eyes, Miss Hermione was like a lamb to be slaughtered. and Malfoy was just the hunter. He only needed to give some bait to catch a delicious big fish, but he didn't expect that the prey would be so hungry that he couldn't feed it at all. For the first time, Malfoy felt that he had made a mistake. Maybe Miss Hermione was not so perfect. Hermione just chose the right one among the 3 system options. Open the system and take out the flying broom awarded by the system. The quality is not bad. Hogwarts prohibits students from flying at will unless they take the flying class, so Hermione has no way to bring out the charm of this flying broom. Put it in the space ring. Return to the dormitory and share the snacks sent by Malfoy with roommates. Release the pet directly. As for some clothes and jewelry, just pile them in the space ring first, and find a way to deal with them when there is no more space. It's easy to eat someone's mouth and take someone's hand. Hermione wanted to refuse, but after refusing, she could only get 1 poisoned apple. Is this the rhythm of poisoning Malfoy to death? Option 3, avoiding it all the time, is not a solution. If you can avoid it, you can't avoid it. Just face it directly. Asking for a big price will make Malfoy give up. It's hard to pursue me. It's a pipe dream to get me with such a small gift. Sure enough, in the next few days, Malfoy didn't seem to bother Hermione so much. Hermione's words that day, anything else, really made Malfoy see for the first time what it means to be greedy and never satisfied. It really made Malfoy give up. Time flies, and soon it's Halloween on October 31st. Halloween is a very lively festival in Hogwarts. On this day, the Great Hall will be decorated with lights and various magical pumpkin lanterns suspended in the air. The wonderful festive atmosphere makes every student present sink into it. During this time, Miss Hermione's system option tasks have been triggered all the time, all kinds of them. Even when taking a bath, she doesn't let it go. So, Miss Hermione got 5 rolls of toilet paper, 3 bars of soap, 2 combs, 3 sweaters, 2 green hats, 1 can of Coke, etc. At the same time, the basic attributes were increased by dozens of points. Magic plus 12, Health plus 10, Low-key plus 14, Agility plus 12, Defense plus 12, Pretty plus 2, Charm plus 2, Body plus 2. Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 30. Giants and Ominous Signs. People are very contradictory creatures. For example, on the one hand, they want to play games on their phones, and on the other hand, they want to rank among the top in their studies. My textbooks are really good, and I get full marks on the exams. On the one hand, I sleep late and don't want to go to work, and on the other hand, I want to get a promotion and a raise, and reach the peak of my life. My work is really good, and I work overtime from 9 to 5 to discuss business. Hermione is the same. On the one hand, she wants to be low-key, solitary, and not competitive. On the other hand, she looks in the mirror and wants to make herself whiter, more beautiful, and have a better figure. Therefore, after adding all other attributes to more than 10 points, Hermione also quietly adds 2 points to her beauty, and indulges herself. During this period, Miss Hermione has grown amazingly because of the system options. Other students have not slacked off either. Among them, Harry's Quidditch training is also very good, and Hermione has triggered many options because of this. In the flying class, Miss Hermione secretly installed the bicycle cushion rewarded by the system, and sat on the flying broom with the bicycle cushion, which was so comfortable. It is simply good news for girls. But the low-key Hermione still secretly carries out it and puts it into the space ring at any time, and has not aroused suspicion yet. This great improvement technology in the magic world. Hermione plans to start a company to gain wealth after graduating from Hogwarts in the future, and benefit the children who study magic. At this moment, on Halloween at Hogwarts, the festive atmosphere is extremely grand. Headmaster Dumbledore is also very happy. The Philosopher's Stone is placed in the Forbidden Corridor on the 4th floor and guarded by a 3-headed dog. There is no major problem so far, students. Although there are some minor problems, there are no major problems. From the beginning of school to today's Halloween, everything is relatively smooth. Hermione, you are getting more and more beautiful. After adding points, Hermione here is more beautiful than in the original play, But the contradiction is that Hermione has added 14 points of low-key, and her beauty is not easily noticed by outsiders. Now Hermione is also considered to be a skilled and bold person. Although low-key and cautious is still her life motto, it is undeniable that her current ability is much stronger than when she first came to Hogwarts. Hermione looked at Ron and said, "Wasn't I beautiful before?" Ron quickly added, "You were beautiful before, and you're even more beautiful now." Hermione said, "I know. Eat your food." Harry also looked at Hermione. They had known each other for a while. In the original play, Hermione was so angry with Ron that she cried. She didn't even eat the Halloween food, but hid in the toilet to wipe her tears. Hermione here has already become friends with her classmates. Whether it is the girlfriends group, the Harry and Ron trio, or the Malfoy suitors, Hermione has handled them in an orderly manner. The only thing Hermione is worried about now is Voldemort. For the rest, there is basically no pressure, because Voldemort has a body close to immortality. Hermione dare not be careless. The biggest villain in this magic world is not an existence that can be killed by stabbing a few times and chopping off the head. It still needs Harry Potter, who has the aura of the protagonist, to slowly solve it. Hermione just needs to be cautious. Harry noticed that Hermione kept looking at the door. When Harry was about to ask Hermione if she had any worries, Malfoy seemed to have gotten used to Hermione being with Harry and Ron frequently. He also changed from being jealous at the beginning to being indulgent now. Perhaps the heart that pursues beautiful women is also a little tired. Professor Quirrell rushed in with a panicked look on his face. His acting skills have always been good. At this moment, the Great Hall was very lively. Many students and teachers looked at Professor Quirrell. Professor Quirrell rushed to the most eye-catching position, stopped, and then said in the loudest voice, "Troll. There is a troll in the basement. The basement is very large, with a potion classroom, Professor Snape's office, Hogwarts kitchen, Hufflepuff common room, and Slytherin common room. If a troll really broke in, the consequences would still be very terrifying. Do you know?" Professor Quirrell rarely spoke without stuttering. After he finished the last sentence, he fell down. It was abrupt and unexpected. The original Halloween festival atmosphere was instantly broken by Professor Quirrell and turned into collective fear. Countless students burst into shrill screams. The whole Great Hall was in chaos. Headmaster Dumbledore couldn't stand it anymore. He stood up. His aura, which he had cultivated over the years, was extremely strong. His voice was loud and serious. Silence in an instant. All the children in the audience quieted down. Everyone was in a variety of postures. Even the rich second-generation Malfoy was preparing to escape in the panic just now. Now, teachers of all grades, lead the students back to the dormitory. No one is allowed to come out without orders. After Dumbledore finished speaking, he said to Professor McGonagall beside him, "Let's go to the basement to have a look." Professor McGonagall also nodded seriously. The entry of a troll into Hogwarts School is still a rare event in the history of the school. At present, only the professors of the school can deal with this troll. The trolls in the magic world are a bit like goblins, but there are also big differences. In this world, trolls are divided into mountain trolls, forest trolls, and river trolls. The one that broke into Hogwarts here is a mountain troll, a carnivore, very cruel and moody. It is 12 feet tall and weighs 1 ton. The top of the head is bald without a single hair, holding a giant stick. The killing power against humans is still very terrifying. Although in the original drama, the troll behaves very stupidly. In fact, this kind of troll is very dangerous. When Hermione was about to hide with many students, the system option really popped up. Option 1. Reveal in public that Professor Quirrell is Voldemort's temporary Horcrux. And he also put the troll in. Complete the task and reward basic attribute +1. Option 2. Go with the flow. Return to the dormitory. Eat an apple to calm down. Complete the task, and reward 1 self-heating hot pot. Option 3. Dare to challenge difficulties and take Harry and Ron to defeat the troll. Complete the task and reward 1 ominous sign. Hermione was a little surprised. The rewards for these 3 options can be said to be poles apart. Now the self-heating hot pot has come out. In fact, according to Hermione's mind, she really wants to choose this. Go back to the dormitory and eat an apple. You can get a self-heating hot pot, and then eat the hot pot while waiting for the troll to be eliminated, which is safe and comfortable. As for the basic attribute +1, Hermione already has a lot. One more is not much, one less is not much. She can't take such a big risk for a basic attribute point. But what Hermione didn't expect was that the troll was combined with Unfortunate Omen. This name is so familiar. Hermione couldn't think of where she had heard it before, but she knew that it must be a good thing. Sure enough, Hermione soon realized it. Damn, isn't this the defensive equipment in King of Glory? Unfortunate Omen 270 physical resistance plus 1200 horsepower passive. After receiving damage, reduce the attacker's attack speed by 30% and movement speed by 15, lasting for 3 seconds. Oh my god! Miss Hermione was about to vomit blood at this moment. After crossing the magic world, she got a space ring, and now even Unfortunate Omen is going to come out to add drama to herself. This is not an ordinary thing, although basic attributes are also very important. During this period, the probability of basic attributes appearing as rewards is more than that of green hats. This ominous sign, which is worth 2,180 gold in the game, appears for the first time. No, Hermione's blood is boiling. She wants this defensive suit. Please support my new book. Thank you. Chapter 31 Second Personality Hermione. The ominous signs have all come out. Will the bloodthirsty blade and the thorn mail be far behind? Hermione feels more and more that the future is promising. When Hermione is dressed in divine clothes, it will not be a problem to tear Voldemort apart with bare hands. Ahem, it is better to keep a low profile first. Keep a low profile, and make a fortune quietly is the kingly way. In the original play, because Hermione hid in the toilet and cried, Harry and Ron went to find Hermione. On this side, Hermione is on good terms with everyone and does not offend anyone. As a good person, she naturally will not hide in the toilet and cry. In other words, Harry and Ron have no way and no reason to go to the women's toilet. What should they do? Got it. Hermione had a flash of inspiration. Although this method is a bit difficult to say, as long as the task can be completed, it will be fine. The ominous sign Hermione wanted too much. As long as she had all the means to save her life, she wanted to have it. Hermione, what's wrong? When Harry and Ron were about to follow the large group back to the dormitory, they saw Hermione approaching from the girls' team. Ron couldn't let go of Hermione, so he asked first. Hermione pretended to be shy and blushed, and said shyly, well, what should I do if I suddenly want to go to the toilet? Not giving them the opportunity to perform beyond their normal level, Hermione continued, how about you two accompany me? I'm a little scared to be alone. Oh my goodness. Miss Hermione is such a beauty in the world, even if she is low-key +14, but everyone has a love of beauty. Hermione also added beauty +2, charm +2, and figure +2 to herself in the later stage. At a young age, she is already a beauty in the world. If possible, Hermione can add more beauty. Although it is a bit against the rules, it is also human nature for physiological problems. Harry nodded and said, okay, but we have to be quiet and don't get caught. In order to avoid trouble, Hermione here sometimes doesn't stay with Harry and Ron, but Hermione here is obviously more mature and gentler, so Harry and Ron are more friendly to Hermione. That's great. Seeing that Harry and Ron had fallen into the trap, Hermione took them and quickly left the team, and carefully went to the girls' bathroom. To be honest, the night in Hogwarts is still very strange and scary. This is a magical world, and there are also forest trolls, which makes people even more nervous. After traveling to Hogwarts for so long, this can be said to be the most adventurous time for Hermione. But for the ominous sign, this little risk is worth it. People live their lives, and they always have to fight for something. Ron looked at Harry and said to Hermione, we'll stand at the door, you go in. The girls were afraid to go to the bathroom, so they asked the two boys to accompany them. Of course, it was impossible for the boys to go to the girls' bathroom with them. Well, you guys be careful. The carefulness in Hermione's mouth meant be careful of the troll, because as expected, this troll was not serious. He did not appear in the basement, but came to the girls' bathroom. He was simply a perverted troll. Ron and Harry thought that Hermione's careful meant being careful of being discovered by the teacher. After all, the three of them violated the rules, and if they were caught, they would definitely lose points. Hermione entered the bathroom, her heartbeat speeding up. Of course, she didn't really want to go to the bathroom, but she held the Wind of Sorrow in one hand and the bouncing bomb in the other. She was just waiting to fight the troll. Nervous, scared, but there was also a hint of excitement. Ron and Harry waited outside for a while, and suddenly Ron blushed slightly and said, "Harry, I want to go to the bathroom too." Harry said awkwardly but elegantly, "I'll go with you." Although boys rarely go to the bathroom together, this is an extraordinary period. Even though they are boys, facing the unknown troll, even Professor Quirrell was frightened and fell directly in the Great Hall. Harry and Ron, who were still young, were still a little nervous and scared. However, when the two came out, they saw a terrifying monster taller than Hagrid, holding a wooden stick, and approaching the women's bathroom step by step. "Not good, Hermione." Ron and Harry rushed over. Hermione was waiting inside, and when she saw the huge and ugly troll, she was terrified and disgusted. Seeing that Harry and Ron had not arrived yet, Hermione could only fight alone. In the original play, Hermione screamed in fear, was at a loss, and fled everywhere. Hermione here, although usually timid, cautious and low-key, but when the danger came, Hermione instantly became a different person. Fear reached the extreme, and Hermione's second personality was successfully stimulated. Her delicate facial features and unprecedented serious expression, her eyes were cold, and her petite body, at this moment, when facing the troll, exuded a sharp murderous aura. The troll had just come in, and at this moment, it was stunned by Hermione's terrifying eyes. What did it come for? The troll almost said human words. "Sorry, I disturbed you." Hermione was extremely calm, and the magic power gathered in her body was directly waved out with the spell she chanted. The first was the Wind of Sorrow, an extra letter of the floating spell, which directly formed a similar skill to Xiaoqiao's second skill in King of Glory. A whirlwind blew the troll up directly. Control first. Then, with a bouncing bomb in one hand, he swung his wand, like Liu Ban No. 7 Scud missile, and with a bang, he blew the troll more than 2 meters away. In the original play, the troll was just for fun, and a light hit from the wooden stick would make it faint. Here, the troll was blown away by Hermione's magic, but still stood up again. This time the troll was angry. It roared and directly shattered the mirror in the toilet. It was furious and swung the wooden stick in its hand and hit Hermione. Hermione's heart tightened, but fortunately she was prepared. She quickly dodged with agility +12. She dodged quickly, but the toilet door behind her was all smashed to pieces, and the debris that burst out was successfully blocked by Hermione's defense +12. Can't beat it. What to do? Wait for Harry and Ron to come? In the original play, their protagonist Tor exploded. Here, the troll was not killed by Hermione's combo, but angered it. Harry and Ron came, and they might be in danger. This giant monster is incredibly powerful, with thick skin and flesh. Fighting it is no joke. What else can we do? Hermione's brain is like a supercomputer, running quickly. What else can be used around her? The ceiling, the ground, the water. Suddenly, Hermione thought of something. Because Hermione has been lucky since she was a child, picking up money is a common thing, but sometimes she also picks up some strange things. For example, Hermione picked up an iron bludger when she went out before. In order to prevent the bludger from magically appearing in her pocket the next day, Hermione directly put the bludger in the space ring. For so long, Hermione has never lost it. Now may be the time for the bludger to play a role. The bludger is an invincible killer in Quidditch games. 90% of the players' injuries are caused by the bludger. Hermione quickly took out the bludger from the space ring. The bludger was also powerful. It smashed anyone it saw and would not stop until it killed them. Hermione threw the bludger next to the giant monster. The bludger was quickly attracted by the troll's powerful body, and its speed increased. With a bang, it hit the troll. Ouch! The troll howled in pain. In a flash, Ron and Harry rushed in and saw such a funny scene. A troll that scared all the teachers and students in the school and had to hide in the dormitory was now being hit back and forth by a familiar bludger. Of course, the troll had never played Quidditch, and it dodged clumsily, but the bludger kept attacking automatically. The troll who was hit and screamed was both funny and pitiful. Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 32, The Self-Aware Bludger. When she was alone, with no one to rely on and facing danger by herself, Hermione's body consciousness would automatically activate her second personality, abandoning all timidity and caution, and she would be extremely calm, even with a hint of murder. Everyone has multiple emotions. Normally, they are normal emotions. When they are angry, they lose their rational emotions. Late at night, they are mostly evil and negative emotions. Complex creatures are like this. Lin Qingyun was originally a special human, and she traveled through time and space to learn magic. Her second personality is hidden, but it is also very terrifying when it is released. When she saw Harry and Ron, Hermione suddenly woke up again. She knew that she shouldn't be so outstanding. If it is reported in Hogwarts in the future that the forest monster was killed by Miss Hermione alone in the girls' bathroom, wouldn't it be a female war god level existence? The low-key and cautious Hermione would not allow such a thing to happen. She immediately pretended to be injured and frightened, and at the same time, she messed up her hair. Then she said to Harry in horror, "Harry, pick up the stick quickly and hit the bludger to kill the troll. It's so scary, this troll. Woo woo, woo woo." Seeing the beautiful and charming Miss Hermione being frightened by the troll, the righteous Ron immediately got angry. "Troll, I will fight you." Unfortunately, although Ron also has the aura of a protagonist, it is extremely irrational for him to rush to the top for his beloved. As soon as he went up, he was kicked away by the troll. Hermione pretended to be injured. This time Ron was really injured. "Ron, are you okay? Ron, don't die. Ron." Hermione rushed up, showing the helplessness and fear of a little girl vividly. Although Harry on the side always felt that something was wrong, when he rushed in just now, he saw the troll screaming at Hermione's abuse. But how come it changed in an instant? However, at this critical moment, Harry could not think too much. He quickly picked up the wooden stick and hit the bludger with a stick. Harry has an amazing talent for Quidditch. He is not only very good at catching the golden snitch, but also very good at hitting the batsman. The bludger that had just hit the troll randomly was hit accurately by Harry's stick at this moment, and the bludger hit the troll's head directly. This bludger is pure iron. I don't know if it's because of Harry's good skills or the protagonist's aura. The troll was hit on the head by the bludger and lost consciousness on the spot. His eyes rolled back and he fell down with a plop. Hermione's bludger was very powerful. The troll fell down and continued to attack. The troll who had fainted was hit black and blue. Harry was relieved when he saw that the troll had lost its destructive power. He quickly dropped the stick and looked at Hermione and Ron. "Hermione, I'm not dead yet," Ron said weakly. He was lying in Hermione's arms at this moment, feeling that his life had never been so happy. He was injured because he saved Hermione. Although he was killed instantly and lay down, he was still a hero. Miss Hermione smelled so good that Ron felt that even if he died at this moment, it would be worth it. "Don't talk, I'll take you to the hospital." Hermione still felt a little guilty, not just acting. If she hadn't completed the task option, she would be sitting in the dormitory eating a self-heating hot pot. If she hadn't challenged the troll alone, resulting in not being able to give the troll a fatal blow, but angering it instead, perhaps, relying only on the protagonist's halo of Harry and Ron, she could have easily solved the troll without getting hurt like in the original play. In short, all this was because of Hermione, so Hermione really felt a little guilty about Ron's injury. Although Ron has always been a funny character and not as smart as Harry, he rushed over to Hermione without hesitation when he saw her injured just now, which still touched Hermione. He is obviously a wizard, but he wants to be a warrior. At this time, when Harry and Hermione were preparing to carry the injured Ron to the hospital, the huge battle noise just now successfully attracted several professors from Hogwarts. In the original play, in order to highlight the setting of the protagonist, the role of the Headmaster Dumbledore was very small. It was similar here. Headmaster Dumbledore did not appear. He might still be looking for the troll in the basement. The ones who came were the deputy headmaster Professor McGonagall, Professor Quirrell and Professor Snape. Professor Quirrell, who was just frightened in the Great Hall, seemed to be fine at this moment. Looking back at Professor Snape, he was pale and there was cold sweat on his forehead. Most importantly, his pants were torn and his injured and bloody legs could be seen. Harry and Hermione both noticed Professor Snape's injury. Ron was also injured due to special circumstances, and he was not a careful person, so he did not notice this. Oh my God! Although Professor McGonagall usually behaves calmly, she still subconsciously reveals a woman's panic when she sees the dilapidated scene in the girls' bathroom. Mr. Potter, Mr. Ron, Miss Hermione, I think I need you to explain it carefully. Professor McGonagall suppressed her complex emotions. She was angry because the headmaster had stipulated that all students should be in the dormitory now, but these three troublemakers were in the girls' bathroom. She was shocked. Professor McGonagall couldn't understand why the terrifying troll was knocked down here at this moment. His nose and face were swollen, and there were traces of explosions on his body. It can be seen that the troll had just been beaten badly. At the same time, she was also unbelievable. From the scene in front of her, it was obvious that the troll was killed by these three little guys. This was simply incredible. Professor Snape and Professor Quirrell were in the same mood. It was time for Hermione to perform again. She immediately volunteered. I'm sorry, Professor McGonagall. I had to go to the toilet urgently, so I violated the rules and asked Harry and Ron to accompany me. I didn't expect to meet a troll here. In the original play, because of her self-esteem, Hermione was unwilling to reveal that she was crying in the toilet and was found by the troll, because it was too embarrassing. So in the original play, Hermione lied and said that she wanted to volunteer to deal with the troll. The reason in the original play was not sufficient. Although Hermione here also lied, her reason was impeccable. A girl was in a hurry, wanted to go to the toilet, was afraid, and asked two male bodyguards to protect herself. Everything is excusable. So Professor McGonagall was silent. She seemed to be thinking, with so many students in the school, why is it only you, Hermione, who is in a hurry? Of course, such questions cannot be asked from Professor McGonagall. When I was attacked by the troll, a bludger flew in from nowhere. Ron was injured by the troll in order to protect me, and Harry hit the bludger and attacked the troll's head, which solved the problem. Hermione recounted the whole process. The three professors looked at the bludger that was still attacking the troll, and were about to go over to see the bludger that had become a hero. Unexpectedly, the bludger seemed to have its own consciousness and flew directly out of the window. Magic! Unbelievable! Even Hermione was stunned. She just thought that the bludger attacked the troll because of its own characteristics. Because in Quidditch games, there are two bludgers that specialize in attacking players on broomsticks, but she didn't expect that the scene in front of her was so abrupt. Could it be, this bludger that was picked up by Hermione and stored in the space ring for a while already has its own consciousness? Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. Thank you. Chapter 33, Throwing Dirty Water on Professor Snape. There is no doubt that Hermione was frightened by her own guess, which was terrifying. But it is not impossible in this magical world. Like the flying car in the second part, like Voldemort's Horcruxes, they are all supernatural objects. Extraordinary. This bludger, which has made great contributions, is not an ordinary item in itself. With the influence of Hermione and the space ring, it is not impossible for it to have some incredible performance. Ron has been carried down, and Hermione and Harry have been sent back to the dormitory. The ending of this story is perfectly concluded with Hermione being deducted 5 points, Ron and Harry each plus 5 points. At the same time, Hermione also received a system reward. Congratulations on completing the System Option 3 task, and reward 1 ominous sign. Hermione was secretly happy. Although she experienced danger, it was not a loss. Harry was thinking secretly. In the original play, Harry told Ron about his discovery, because Harry often discussed with Ron. Here Ron was bravely injured. Harry looked at Hermione, who was low-key and beautiful beside him. Her face, which made people unable to look away, was 7 points of beauty, 2 points of beauty, and 1 point of beauty. I don't know if Harry is nearsighted, but he has a beauty filter when looking at everything. On the skin of ordinary people, if they don't apply a thick layer of makeup, they will see pores and blackheads, and even acne marks. Of course, there are very few of these on the skin of children, but Hermione has almost none. She is naturally beautiful and loves beauty, which makes her pay more attention to details. That's why she secretly gave herself a plus point, which makes her look amazing at first glance. When she looks closely, wow, it's a work of art. Flawless. At the same time, she keeps an absolute low profile. It's like a not-so-bright night pearl in the dark night. Although it's not as bright as a light bulb, it's worth a fortune. Maybe Ron usually behaves too obviously, and Harry, who is a straight man, doesn't show anything to Hermione. But if the two are alone, they will still notice Hermione. Hermione is not only beautiful, but also has a perfect figure, and her lines are like the masterpiece of an art sculpture master. Perhaps Harry still doesn't quite understand that many children look very pretty when they are young, but become ugly when they grow up. But Hermione has system attribute points. She will definitely not let this happen. When she grows up, she will definitely be many times more perfect than Hermione in the original show. If the original movie Hermione has 85 points for appearance and 80 points for figure, then the Hermione here has 99 points for appearance and 99 points for figure. The 1 point is reserved to prevent oneself from being proud. Hermione, you were not scared when you met the troll just now? Ron's matter has just been discussed. Hermione showed her beauty after being frightened and said, "Fortunately, thanks to you. Otherwise I would have lost my beauty." Harry saw that Hermione was not modest about her peerless beauty, and smiled slightly to show respect. "Actually, I want to say something, but I don't know if I should say it." When Harry hesitated, Hermione's system unexpectedly popped up an option window again. Option 1. Agree with Harry's speculation, put the blame on Professor Snape, complete the task and reward basic attribute +1. Option 2. Oppose Harry's speculation, and cleverly hint that Professor Quirrell is the bad guy who wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone, complete the task and reward 1 razor. Option 3. I don't want to listen, complete the task and reward 1 pair of sunglasses. Very good. This option almost doesn't need to be thought about and entangled, because options 2 and 3 are too funny, the benefits are too low, and they have been automatically eliminated. Hermione took the initiative to say, "Harry, what you want to say is that after we solved the troll, when Professor McGonagall, Professor Quirrell and Professor Snape came over, there was something strange about Professor Snape, right?" Even though Harry was wearing glasses, his eyes lit up and nodded. "I know, it's not appropriate to mention this when you, Hermione, are frightened and Ron is injured, but I'm too curious, why did Professor Snape get injured at this critical moment?" Hermione knew that in fact, Harry, like in the original play, had begun to doubt Professor Snape. However, Hermione is a beauty after all, not a boy like Ron, so there are some things that she cannot say freely. And Harry also has every reason to doubt Professor Snape. The reason is simple. Harry Potter's name is indeed famous throughout the magic world. Since Harry Potter entered the magic world, wherever he went, from 80-year-old wizards to children of a few years old, and even goblins and orcs, they could recognize Harry Potter at a glance. It is enough to see how famous Harry Potter is. But even so, there are not many people who openly oppose Harry. In addition to Malfoy, there is Professor Snape. Malfoy is petty and jealous of those who do not obey him and are better than him. It is easy to understand that Malfoy is targeted. However, since entering Hogwarts, Harry just can't figure out why Professor Snape is targeting Harry everywhere when he has never met him before. A first-year freshman is targeted by the dean of the Slytherin house. I'm afraid no one will believe it if I tell others. At present, I'm afraid only Professor Snape himself and Hermione who traveled through time know. Professor Snape hated Harry just because he hated Harry's father. Harry's father was Professor Snape's mortal enemy when they were students. Not only that, he also stole the only love of Professor Snape's life. Harry was the child of that man, and Harry looked very much like his father. Every time Professor Snape saw Harry, he could hardly control his disgust. But Professor Snape was very contradictory. He was obsessed with Harry's eyes, because although Harry looked like his father, Harry's eyes were exactly the same as his mother's. However, at this time, Professor Snape did not show his love for Harry. Professor Snape only showed his disgust for Harry, a very arrogant old man. Here, Hermione naturally would not explain to Harry to cause trouble for herself. Instead, she directly threw dirty water on Professor Snape. I see that Professor Snape's leg is injured. The scratches don't look like those caused by fighting with the trolls, but are caused by the claws of a giant dog. Hermione almost said that Professor Snape was scratched by the three-headed dog in the forbidden corridor on the 4th floor. Seeing that Hermione's idea coincided with his, Harry immediately stopped holding back and said directly, "From the first time I met Professor Snape, I felt that he was very wrong. He seemed to hate me very much. I thought about it for a long time. The only explanation is that I seriously injured Voldemort back then, and Professor Snape was Voldemort's Death Eater. Only in this way can he have a reason. Moreover, the forest troll would not appear in the school for no reason. Someone must have secretly let it in." At that time, Professor Quirrell, who discovered the troll, had fainted. Only Professor Snape had time. He wanted to take advantage of the chaos to sneak into the forbidden corridor on the 4th floor to steal the Philosopher's Stone, but he didn't know that there was a three-headed dog guarding there, so he was injured by the claws and could only escape in embarrassment. Hermione clapped her hands directly. "Wonderful, Harry, your analysis is so right. This Professor Snape is very suspicious." Hermione successfully threw dirty water, and the system immediately gave a prompt. "Congratulations on completing the task. Option 1 task. Reward basic attribute +1." Chapter 34. The system gives good things. Hermione chose to throw dirty water on Professor Snape, not because of profit, nor because she hated Professor Snape. In addition to the important reason of system option, Hermione did not want to portray herself as too smart and invincible. When Professor Quirrell's turban was untied, the truth would be revealed sooner or later, and then Harry would definitely understand how stupid they were at that moment. But what does it matter? When they first met on the train, Hermione created a careless impression for Harry and Ron. Now, Hermione's guess was wrong, which was completely reasonable. "Keep a low profile, just let others think you are not so smart." Harry said seriously, "This matter is very serious, you must tell Principal Dumbledore." Hermione immediately pulled Harry. "Principal Dumbledore was just a bystander, it was useless for you to go to him." Hermione said, "We are just guessing, I think we should ask Hagrid tomorrow to clarify." Harry nodded. It was true, they did not have any evidence, and they went directly to the principal, which was indeed a bit inappropriate. After all, Professor Snape is the head of Slytherin, and his status is only lower than that of Professor Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall. Just like that, Harry returned to his dormitory. Wood and Neville in Harry's dormitory were awake. They curiously asked Harry where he had been. Why hadn't Ron come back yet? Harry didn't know how to answer. He was young and had a lot on his mind. The moonlight shone through the window, casting a dim light. Harry reached out and touched the lightning scar on his forehead. When he had just fought the troll, he could clearly feel the pain on the scar on his forehead. Harry knew that Voldemort must be nearby. Although Harry didn't know Voldemort, he could feel that he and Voldemort had an extraordinary relationship. Hermione didn't think so much. When she just crossed over, she was indeed panicked and scared. Her instinctive caution made her cautious. However, after all, she had lived for so long now, there were some dangers that Hermione already knew how to avoid. She was not as worried as Harry. She began to check her rewards alone. The first one was the unlucky omen, obtained by taking risks. This thing, like the space ring, does not belong to this magical world. Because of the existence of the system, Hermione was lucky enough to get it. In the real world, as long as she played a mage and played an unlucky omen, she dared to fight against the jungle shooter on the opposite side. Lin Qingyun has always been unconventional. When she played a mage, she liked to play 1-2 pieces of meat suits, with thick blood and life-saving to be able to kill the opponent. Now, unexpectedly, she could also get an unlucky omen after traveling to another world. The shape of the unlucky omen is almost exactly the same as in the game, but it may be to fit Hermione's body setting. It is not as hard as armor on the outside, but like a soft gold armor, comfortable and breathable. When worn, it can just protect the heart. Warm and intimate, Hermione decided that she would wear it unless she took a shower in the future. She even wore the unlucky omen when she slept. For Hermione, this is simply a life-saving soft armor. Then, I put the blame on Professor Snape and gained a basic attribute +1. Hermione thought about it and decided to add it to agility. Based on the experience gained from fighting the trolls, I couldn't quickly increase my combat power. I had to take my time. It was more important to save my life. In addition to defense, agility was also very important, a bit like the Flash skill. As long as I dodge quickly, the damage can't catch up with me. Magic +12, health +10, low-key +14, agility +13, defense +12, pretty +2, charm +2, body +2. These are all the attribute points after adding points. In addition to these, there are also fine arts, music, art, etc. These attributes should be considered later. The next day, the sun was very warm. Hermione wore the ominous sign inside her pajamas, so others couldn't see it. The things rewarded by the system are not only of good quality, but also very user-friendly and comfortable to use. Just like the smart toilet lid obtained from the system option at the beginning, Hermione is still using it now, which is very convenient, clean and hygienic. What Hermione didn't expect was that Ron actually went to class with a bandage on the new day. I thought he would lie in the hospital for a few days, but he turned out to be an indestructible cockroach. He was really strong. Last night, Ron and Harry, as the patron saints of the first-year school beauty Hermione, defeated the troll and protected Hermione. The news quickly spread. All the students looked at Ron and Harry with admiration. Great. I've said it before, Harry Potter is not an ordinary person. Even the ghosts in the school who can pass through walls began to discuss Harry. Ron looked at Hermione's flawless appearance, and his heart was like a flower. He said, "Hermione, I'm sorry, I'm not as good as Harry, and I was injured. I almost became a burden." Hermione reached out to tidy up Ron's clothes. His arm was injured and bandaged, so it was inconvenient to put on clothes, and the clothes were a little crooked. As the most beautiful girl in the school, Hermione helped him tidy up. "If that's the case, you were also a hero who saved the beauty last night." Ron was so grateful that he almost burst into tears and fell into Hermione's arms. At this time, Harry came over and said, "You are all here." When I saw Ron, I blamed him for not staying in the hospital for a few more days. Ron spoke to Harry, but his eyes looked at Hermione and said, "I just miss you." Harry said, "In that case, let's go find Hagrid after class and inform him." Hermione was reluctant, but fortunately at this time, the system options popped up again. Option 1, force Ron to go to the hospital, and complete the task to reward 1 syringe. Option 2, go to see Hagrid with Harry and Ron, and complete the task to reward basic attributes +1. Option 3, tell Professor Snape that you have become a major suspect in stealing the Philosopher's Stone, and complete the task to reward 1 Holy Sword of Physics. Hermione quickly analyzed that this Holy Sword of Physics was interesting. However, Hermione had just thrown dirty water on Professor Snape last night, and today she went to report it, which seemed to be a bit of a dilemma. Maybe I should just go all the way. During the break, the annoying Malfoy came again. After repeated confirmation, he learned that the troll that scared him last night was really solved by Ron and Harry Potter. Malfoy was very unwilling, but out of cowardice, he couldn't go directly to Harry Potter at this time. After all, they are now the heroes of the school. The legend of the child who can seriously injure Voldemort is indeed worthy of his reputation. Temporarily avoid the edge. Malfoy came to find Hermione. Malfoy is not like Harry, who is nearsighted and has to wear glasses. His eyes can fully see the high-definition world. An 11-year-old girl usually has some freckles, and large pores are only found in adult girls. But in the high-definition world, Miss Hermione not only has beautiful facial features, but also white and smooth skin, and even no spots. It's perfect. At the same time, the temperament around her is as quiet as agarwood. Only by observing closely can you discover Hermione's unique beauty. If you rush by, you may ignore it. Please support my new book, Thank you everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Quidditch Match. Bad guys also grow up. Malfoy also knows some of Hermione's temper and preferences, and of course he will not do anything to deliberately make her angry. So at this moment, Malfoy faced Hermione and said in a rare tone that was not so strong, "I warned you before, don't get too close to those two brats Harry Potter and Ron, otherwise you will die without a burial place." Although Malfoy's tone was normal, the words that came out of his mouth were really not very pleasant. Hermione skillfully sorted out the things on the desk with her small hands, and replied casually, "You said these words before." "Said? You still know?" Malfoy was a little angry and said, "Then why didn't you listen? It was so dangerous last night. If it weren't for Harry Potter and Ron, you wouldn't be in danger." Hermione was impressed by these words. It's really the thinking of a bad guy. In short, it's all the fault of the people he hates. "I know. Do you have anything else to add?" There seemed to be a 1,000-foot light shining in Hermione's big eyes, which was extremely charming. Hermione's wisdom is not to argue with such a bad guy. In short, what he says is what it is. Malfoy clenched his fists and finally returned home disappointed. In fact, he had known what kind of personality Hermione had these days. She looked harmless and would not offend anyone, but in fact she was a soft nail. It was almost impossible to make Hermione listen to him obediently. Malfoy returned to his seat and cursed inwardly, "Damn Harry Potter and Ron, you won't be proud for long." Finally, it was time for lunch and many students went to the auditorium. Only 3 little guys who had already made an appointment went to where Hagrid lived. Hagrid's residence, seeing these 3 troublesome children, immediately felt a headache. "Harry, you guys did a great job last night." "I've heard about it." Harry got straight to the point and said, "Hagrid, we're not here to talk about the trolls today, but the conspiracy behind them." Hagrid was tall. He looked at the 3 children and said helplessly, "What new ideas do you have?" Hagrid let it slip last time and mentioned Nicholas Flamel. This time, Hagrid didn't plan to say more. Of course, the premise is that he can control himself. "Listen, Hagrid, we already know who Nicholas Flamel is. He is the greatest alchemist in the wizarding world." Ron also sighed. "He has lived for more than 600 years. Hermione felt that Ron had already spoken, and it would be strange if she didn't say a few words, so she said, "We also know that he has a big treasure, the Philosopher's Stone that can make people immortal." Hagrid was tall, but at the moment he looked depressed. These 3 little guys together were so annoying that they could be annoying to death. Harry looked at Hagrid and said with more pride, "So we have already guessed that the thing hidden in the forbidden corridor on the 4th floor and guarded by the 3-headed dog is actually the Philosopher's Stone, which is what Voldemort wants." Hearing this, Hagrid's face changed and he quickly reached out to cover Harry. It was like an eagle catching a chick. Hagrid looked around. "You 3 are really too brave." After Hagrid let go of Harry, Harry continued, "It's not us who are brave, it's Professor Snape." "Professor Snape?" Hagrid didn't seem to expect that Harry's previous reasoning was correct, but how come Professor Snape suddenly popped up at the critical moment? "Last night, after we were attacked by the troll, we saw with our own eyes that Professor Snape's leg was injured by claws. The scars were obviously left by the 3-headed dog," Ron said, "so we have every reason to suspect that the troll last night was let in by Professor Snape. He wanted to cause panic in the school and then take the opportunity to steal the Philosopher's Stone in the forbidden corridor on the 4th floor." Hermione knew that Ron and Harry's reasoning was wrong, but it was better for her to play her role well at this time. "So, we infer that it was Professor Snape who wanted to get the Philosopher's Stone. He is a Death Eater." "Oh, my God." Hagrid didn't know what to say anymore. He looked up at the sky, as if he had never been so speechless in his life. "My 3 clever little detectives, can you please not care about this matter? Neither Professor Snape nor the Philosopher's Stone is your business. Besides, you have too much malice towards Professor Snape. He is also one of the teachers who guards the Philosopher's Stone. Why did he steal the Philosopher's Stone? Hagrid learned from the last lesson. He patted Harry and Ron on the head. When he was about to pat Hermione, he saw the beautiful face of the little girl and was afraid that his big hand would hurt her. He stopped in midair and then took it back awkwardly. "Okay, kids. I'm going to get busy. Don't worry about this matter anymore. Okay, promise me." After saying that, Hagrid left quickly. Ron looked at Hagrid's back, and the sunlight made him half squint his eyes. "Mr. Hagrid doesn't seem to believe us," Harry said with a firm look. "I will find evidence to make him believe it." At this time, Hermione heard the system prompt sound that only she could hear. "Congratulations on completing the option task. Reward basic attribute +1. Hermione was very satisfied and immediately began to say words that fit her role. "Harry, Ron, didn't you hear what Mr. Hagrid said just now?" Hermione said earnestly. "The Philosopher's Stone and Voldemort are too big a matter. We can't take care of it. Let's stop here." As she said that, Hermione lifted her skirt and left. Ron looked at Hermione's back. This time, even though the sun was glaring, he opened his eyes wide. "Hermione is here again. She is always brave but timid, but she is very cute." Harry looked at Ron with a smile and shook his head. A few days later, the Quidditch game was about to begin. This year's Quidditch game was between Gryffindor and Slytherin, and it was very exciting. Ms. Hermione, wearing her school uniform, was undoubtedly the most dazzling little beauty in the crowd. Fortunately, she was low-key enough. As long as people didn't like her and were obsessed with her, they would automatically ignore her. In the past few days, she gained a lot of good things because of the system option tasks. Among them, the basic attribute points were also improved. Magic +13, Health +11, Low-key +15, Agility +14, Defense +13, Pretty +2, Charm +2, Body +2. "It's so lively today, Hermione." Ron had taken off the bandage on his arm. He looked at Hermione, whose skin was almost white and transparent in the sunlight. Her delicate features, beautiful hair, and perfect figure were so beautiful. Hermione looked at the 4 major branches, sitting on a high platform to watch the game. On both sides of the huge Quidditch field, the Slytherin and Gryffindor teams participated in the game. In the distance, Malfoy was very jealous that Ron, the brat, could spend every day with Hermione. As the saying goes, the one who is close to the water gets the moon first. Malfoy was from the Slytherin branch, so he didn't have this opportunity. The 4 major branches of Hogwarts must sit separately. The soy sauce headmaster Dumbledore said a few words, and then the vice headmaster Professor McGonagall presided over the class, and Madame Hooch of the flying class was the referee. Although both of them are women, Professor McGonagall and Madame Hooch's love and enthusiasm for Quidditch are no less than that of men. Chapter 36 Ms. Hermione's Key Role. Mr. Filch, the gatekeeper who was always disliked by students, was very interested today. He was holding his beloved cat, Mrs. Norris, and watching the upcoming Quidditch game with a bright smile in the sunshine. There was also the neglected Professor Quirrell. He was different from other professors. He always had a thick cloth wrapped on his head. Miss Hermione wanted to take the opportunity to tear off his headcloth when there were many people around, but the cautious Miss Hermione stopped this crazy idea. Hermione suddenly sighed. It would be great if she could watch the game quietly, but Hermione knew that this was unlikely. The system would not miss this opportunity to easily trigger the option. Ron beside him asked curiously, "Hermione, what's wrong?" Hermione smiled bitterly and did not answer, because the system option popped up in front of her. Option 1, sit quietly and watch the game. Reward 1 bottle of prairie air. Option 2, ride the flying broom with a modified bicycle seat. I also want to compete, attract attention. Reward 2000 Nimbus. Option 3, go down, cheer for Harry as a Gryffindor cheerleader. Reward basic attribute +1. Hermione was very entangled. What should I do? I really want to watch the game quietly, but I am really unwilling to get only 1 bottle of prairie air. Forget it. I'd better be a cheerleader. As for the Nimbus 2000, Harry had received it before participating in the game. It was secretly sent by Professor McGonagall. Hermione thought it was good to have such a good thing, but it was okay if she couldn't have it. Anyway, in her space ring, there was also a flying broom awarded by the system, which was equipped with a bicycle seat, which was comfortable and safe. I remember that when Harry received the Nimbus 2000, Professor Snape came to attract a wave of hatred, saying that Harry was a great hero who could kill the troll, and a small Quidditch game would definitely be no problem. Hermione on the side was speechless. After all, Professor Snape is the Dean of Slytherin. He has gone to great lengths to motivate Harry Potter, but how could Professor Snape not make Harry and Ron suspicious when he performed so hard? According to previous speculation, if Professor Snape was a Death Eater, then Harry Potter and Ron had solved the troll, which undoubtedly destroyed Professor Snape's plan, causing him to not have enough time to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Therefore, it was understandable that he would hate Harry. However, only Hermione, who was smart, knew Professor Snape was warning Harry that he had destroyed the real Voldemort conspiracy, and that he must be careful in this dangerous Quidditch game. Unfortunately, Professor Snape was too arrogant. His words not only did not alert Harry, but made people suspect that he was the biggest villain. Hermione, what are you going to do? Ron saw Hermione leave without saying a word. Hermione answered casually, to the bathroom. To the bathroom again. Girls are really made of water. Ron reacted, fearing that Hermione would be in danger of the troll again, and quickly followed up with a sentence. I'll accompany you. No, Hermione quickly refused. After getting off the platform and standing below, you can also feel the anxious atmosphere of sports competition in the air. In the magical world, 9.9 out of 10 people are interested in Quidditch. Hermione did not delay, holding 2 cheerleading flowers, and went to find Harry's Quidditch team. At this moment, Harry looked very nervous. The captain beside him, Senior Wood, who was training Harry, comforted him. Harry, I was also very nervous when I participated in the first Quidditch game. What happened next? Harry wanted to ask Wood how he solved this nervousness. Who knew Senior Wood was very humorous, and he smiled with a strange expression. Later, I don't remember what happened later. When I woke up, I was lying in the hospital for a month before I could get out of bed. Harry's eyes widened immediately, and the words were stuck in his throat for a long time, recalling the first time he took a flying lesson. The fat Neville almost became a human kebab in the sky because he couldn't control the flying broom, but he eventually fell and broke his hand. It was too dangerous. Little Beauty. It's Miss Hermione. Boys will be excited when they see girls, let alone Miss Hermione, who is so beautiful. Hermione waved the cheerleading flowers and said with a sweet smile, come on, Gryffindor will win. The Gryffindor team members were immediately full of energy. They were refueled by the most beautiful junior sister in Gryffindor. At this moment, everyone was ignited with fighting spirit, and one person beat 10. Hermione came to Harry and smiled. Harry, I'm waiting for you to come back victorious. Thank you, Hermione. Harry was grateful. He was a little scared just now, and even imagined that he would lie in the hospital for a month. Unexpectedly, when Miss Hermione came, she was like a spring breeze, refreshing the heart. All the worries in my heart disappeared, and there was only passion and fighting spirit. Hermione watched Harry and Senior Wood's Gryffindor Quidditch team go on the field. The system prompted, congratulations on completing option 3, reward basic attribute +1. Hermione was satisfied. The opposite Slytherin team saw that Gryffindor had the most beautiful Ms. Hermione in the school as a cheerleader to cheer them up, and they immediately felt envious and unfair. Fortunately, Madam Hooch blew the whistle quickly and pulled them back to the game. Professor McGonagall looked at Miss Hermione and thought this beautiful girl was quite interesting. She actually knew how to use her beauty to cheer the players up. The Gryffindor team was full of fighting spirit, and the momentum of the entire team completely crushed the opposite Slytherin team. In order to avoid too much attention, Hermione quickly ran away. In a place where no one was, she turned on the system and started to add points to herself. This time she decided to add a different attribute, strength +1. The game was particularly fierce, and the Gryffindor team performed even better than in the original show. If the opposing Slytherin team had not used dirty tricks, they would have seen no hope of winning. The scene that Professor Snape was worried about soon appeared. Harry, who was about to chase the golden snitch on his Nimbus 2000, suddenly swayed uncontrollably in midair, and was about to fall from midair, which was very dangerous. Miss Hermione was glad that she had pushed Harry and Ron out to be heroes on the night when the troll was defeated, otherwise it would be Miss Hermione who would be retaliated by Voldemort. However, at this critical moment, the system triggered the options again. Option 1. Do not save Harry. Harry is lucky and will not die even if he is saved. Complete the task and you will be rewarded with a poisoned apple. Option 2. Stop Professor Quirrell from continuing to cast spells, and you will be rewarded with an invisibility cloak for completing the task. Option 3. Tell Professor McGonagall that Voldemort possessed Professor Quirrell to retaliate against Harry, and you will be rewarded with +1 basic attribute for completing the task. There is no doubt that options 2 and 3 are more profitable. However, option 3 is too dangerous and will easily expose yourself and waste more time. Maybe Harry will lose the game. Although Hermione was a time traveler, she has lived in Gryffindor for so long that she has some feelings for the house. Of course, she doesn't want her house to lose, so she quickly took out her bouncing bomb wand and quietly came to the Slytherin stand. She saw Professor Snape chanting a spell, which seemed to be to dissolve Professor Quirrell's curse. Malfoy, who was not far away, was still watching the show, with a gloating look on his face. New hatreds and old grudges. Of course, Hermione would not be stupid enough to set fire to Professor Quirrell directly, because if she did that, she would be really exposed. Skillfully chanting the arson spell, Hermione not only set Professor Snape's clothes on fire, but also accidentally set Malfoy's butt on fire. Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 37. Miss Hermione's Creative Mind. Malfoy would never have dreamed that he would have such an honor, to have his butt burned by the girl he loved with a fire spell. Professor Snape felt better, at least it was his robe, and he could stop the damage immediately as long as the flames were put out in time. But Malfoy was different. Although he was not burned to pieces, he was definitely in pain. Sure enough, Professor Snape was at least frightened and quickly stood up to put out the flames. Malfoy was miserable. With his butt on fire, he jumped up quickly like a flea. The temperature of the flames could quickly be transmitted from his skin. The people around him were in chaos. In addition to those who subconsciously avoided it, there were also teachers and professors who came to help. Miss Hermione's heartbeat accelerated, knowing that she had caused a big disaster. Of course she didn't dare to stay any longer. Fortunately, the system gave a reward in time. Congratulations on completing option task 2 and getting an invisibility cloak. In the original play, the treasure left to Harry by his father was an invisibility cloak, and Hermione received an invisibility cloak as a system reward. Not only is the shape different, but the function is also very different. Hermione had already made a plan. Otherwise she would not have suddenly attacked Malfoy. Although Hermione had wanted to take revenge on Malfoy for a long time, the cautious Hermione, even though she had learned a lot of magic, had not taken action against Malfoy for a long time, because she was afraid of destroying her peaceful personality. Because of a Malfoy, it was not worth it to destroy the cautiousness that she had worked hard for. However, today was a good opportunity. Compared with Malfoy, Professor Snape was more valued for being attacked by fire. Others would only think that Malfoy was just implicated, and would not think that Malfoy was retaliated against. The invisibility cloak looks like a raincoat, and the size is only enough for one person to wear, which is different from Harry's invisibility cloak in the original play. And because of the system reward, Hermione's invisibility cloak can also be combined with the ominous sign obtained before to form a strange suit. The ominous sign is defense, while the invisibility cloak is invisibility, absolute invisibility. Even breathing and heartbeats can be perfectly hidden. In this regard, the function is obviously more powerful than Harry's invisibility cloak. After the matter was done, he left, hiding his identity and name. After the flame on Malfoy's butt was extinguished, 2 large blisters were indeed burned, and the nobleman screamed in pain. Losing face, the Slytherin classmates around wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. Professor Snape's face was also extremely embarrassed. How could 2 balls of fire appear out of thin air? It was simply unbelievable. Professor Snape first suspected that it was done by students from other branches, but there was no movement around, so he had to start to suspect that it was done by students from his own branch. Because Miss Hermione's invisibility cloak was too effective, silent and undetectable. Of course, the most depressed person was Professor Quirrell. In the original play, Professor Snape's extinguishing of the flames alone caused his spell to fail. Here, with the addition of a jumping Malfoy, the spell would fail 100%, without a doubt. Harry, who was still in the game, immediately returned to normal. Hagrid and Ron, who had been nervous because Harry was in danger, could finally rest assured. As for Hermione, she had just done something bad, but it was not completely a bad thing. At least burning Professor Snape, destroying Professor Quirrell and harming Harry are good things. It's not a bad thing to punish Malfoy in passing. Malfoy has done so many bad things, and he deserves it. After calming down, Hermione stroked her invisibility cloak. It was soft and didn't feel stuffy at all when she wore it. Instead, it was extremely comfortable. This invisibility cloak can hide sounds, and no sound can be made when walking. It can hide breath, and even if you stand behind your classmates, the other party can't hear Hermione's breathing. There is also heartbeat and pulse. Even advanced thermal imaging cameras can't detect the temperature behind the invisibility cloak. It's amazing. It's really a treasure. This adventure is worth it. Hermione found a corner where no one noticed, quickly took off the invisibility cloak, and then carefully put the invisibility cloak into the space ring. Finally, go back to the Gryffindor stand, to Ron's side. Ron saw the beautiful Hermione coming back, and it was normal for girls to go to the bathroom for a while. "Why are you looking at me? I don't have a match on my face," Hermione said to Ron. If Ron hadn't behaved normally, Hermione would have wanted him to have a taste of the fire. Among the boys around her who were not annoying at the moment, the only one who was quite upright was probably Harry Potter. Ron smirked twice, and then continued to cheer for Harry. The atmosphere of the game was extremely lively. Hermione had a modern mindset. In her eyes, although Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry was full of magic, it was undeniable that it was full of dangers. And many places were not perfect. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Harry Potter had just been cursed by a bad guy. In the original play, and here, if Miss Hermione hadn't rescued Harry, Harry might have fallen from the sky and become a box. However, Hogwarts School did not conduct any investigation afterwards. Even if it was just a pretense, it had never happened. It had to be said that being in Hogwarts, being able to complete your studies alive, was all about luck. This made Hermione understand even more that in this dangerous world, only she was the most reliable, and she had to be more cautious. The exciting Quidditch match reached the most critical and intense stage. The Golden Snitch was flying extremely fast, and it was difficult for people with poor eyesight to see it clearly. Gryffindor's Seeker Harry and Slytherin's Seeker chased the Golden Snitch all the way, and it was about to hit the ground at low altitude. In the end, the Slytherin Seeker on the opposite side was timid, or maybe the opponent did not have Harry Potter's talent, nor was he as flexible as the Nimbus 2000 that Harry was sitting on. In order to catch the Golden Snitch and bring honor to Gryffindor, Harry boldly began to stand on the flying broom. This scene was quite dangerous, but only Ms. Hermione, who had a big brain, saw a business opportunity again. Sure enough, with different thinking, you can find advantages and disadvantages in anything. Before, Hermione made a humanized design of a bicycle seat for girls sitting on flying brooms. Seeing Harry standing on it boldly today, Hermione did not think of widening the wooden stick of the flying broomstick, but thought that if a vertical handrail was installed on it, wouldn't it be like a children's handrail scooter? At that time, everyone could stand on the flying broomstick to fly. Such a bold and avant-garde design made Hermione very excited. Ron on the side mistakenly thought that Hermione was excited because she saw Harry's thrilling Quidditch game. Ron could not help but envy Harry. It would be great if he could also sit on the flying broomstick to participate in Quidditch. At that time, the beautiful Ms. Hermione would also be very excited to see his wonderful game. Unfortunately, Ron's pattern was small. Hermione saw a business opportunity. In her mind at this moment, All the Quidditch players' flying broomsticks had an extra handrail scooter pole. Although the shape was a little funny, it really allowed every wizard to stand on the flying broomstick. That picture seemed to transcend the magic world and was more like a science fiction world, a huge change from sitting to standing. Miss Hermione felt that this idea had great market prospects. Chapter 38 Hermione, the master behind the scenes. Miss Hermione even enjoyed the future, and when she was old, she published a book, My Life My Entrepreneurship History, How I Changed the Entire Magical World. The exciting Quidditch game was still going on, and the Slytherin team saw Gryffindor's Harry Potter standing directly on a flying broom. I have seen people pretending to be good, but I have never seen such a pretense. This brat, a freshman, participated in the official Quidditch college competition for the first time, and he pretended like this, even if he was the famous Harry Potter. This matter was absolutely intolerable. So, another Slytherin quickly sat on the flying broom and rushed over directly. As long as Harry Potter was knocked down, Gryffindor would lose their seeker and they would definitely lose. However, at the most critical moment, Harry was indeed knocked down, and the whole audience exclaimed. Fortunately, Harry was flying at a low altitude and was not injured. He stood up in time. At that moment, the whole audience looked at Harry Potter. Hermione was very happy about this. As long as Harry became more famous, Hermione, who was hiding behind the scenes, would be safer. It was simply perfect. Oh my God! He's going to vomit. Hagrid was very concerned about Harry. There were so many wonderful performances by the players in the Quidditch match, but only Harry was the one Hagrid paid attention to all the time, no one else. So at the most critical moment just now, Hagrid noticed that Harry was about to catch the golden snitch, but Harry was hit and directly opened his mouth to swallow the golden snitch. Fortunately, this is the magical world. In the real world, if a child swallows a ping-pong ball by mistake, he will be sent directly to the hospital, which is super dangerous. Harry vomited it out directly. The golden snitch. The golden snitch was caught by Harry Potter. Gryffindor adds 150 points, and the game is officially over. As long as the golden snitch is caught, the game will end directly. The winner of this Quidditch game is the Gryffindor team. The whole audience immediately burst into cheers, of course, mixed with the dejection of the Slytherins. Damn Harry Potter! Malfoy's butt was burned, and he was still cursing Harry, who was showing off again. No, it's only been half a semester, and Harry Potter's fame has completely overshadowed Malfoy. Not only in the previous battle with the troll, but also in this time as the Gryffindor Seeker, directly catching the golden snitch. Harry Potter has successfully proved that he is worthy of his reputation and is really super excellent. On the contrary, Malfoy is almost useless except that he is a rich second generation who will form gangs and bully the weak. The fire of jealousy is burning. Malfoy decided that after his buttock injury healed, he would go to trouble Harry Potter, even if it meant catching Harry Potter's handle and ruining his reputation. In Hogwarts school, there must be no one more arrogant than him. Malfoy. Malfoy, is the protagonist. He is a rich young man who is high above in the family, and he should be the same in Hogwarts school. The more famous Harry Potter is, the more challenges he faces. On the contrary, Miss Hermione, the most beautiful girl in the school, is harmless to people and animals, and almost no one thinks Hermione is a threat. This is the effect that cautious Hermione wants. Harry Potter is very happy holding the Quidditch trophy. After the game, he came alone to the place where his father won the Quidditch honor. He smiled and said, "Dad, I didn't embarrass you." Other students may see Harry Potter's bravery and legend. However, only he knows that he is also an ordinary person. He has been living under the roof of others since he was a child, and his aunt's family is not good to Harry. Now he has come to Hogwarts, where he has a good friend Ron and the beautiful Hermione. Although Miss Hermione sometimes looks a little weird, Harry can feel that Hermione is a good person with a kind heart. She just doesn't like to cause trouble, but she always has to get involved in trouble. Harry has won the honor of the college for the first time. This time, defeating the troll will make people talk about it. How much Harry wants to have his own parents at this moment, hugging him, and saying with emotion, "My Harry is great. We are proud of you, Harry." Of course, I'm afraid Harry will never hear such words in his life. Seeing his trophy and his father's medal together, Harry is relieved. After staying for a long time, Harry finally left a little lonely. It was time for dinner, and Hermione should have dinner with Harry to celebrate. After congratulations were said, the system options popped up again. Hermione had already obtained the precious invisibility cloak today, and Hermione knew that there would not be anything too precious next. However, when the system options appeared, she still had to make a choice. Option 1, keep silent about Harry's curse, and don't mention it at all. Reward, 1 bottle of distilled water. Option 2, cleverly raise the suspicion of Professor Quirrell. He is the big bad guy hiding behind. Reward, 1 umbrella for completing the task. Option 3, continue to throw dirty water on Professor Snape, saying that you saw him cast a spell on Harry with your own eyes. Reward, +1 basic attribute for completing the task. Without a doubt, the most valuable option is only 3, and this option can also highlight Hermione's stupidity at the moment when the truth comes out in the later stage. It's perfect. Hermione took a sip of the delicious drink. She ate the food in big mouthfuls, not worried about gaining weight at all. As long as there was a little abnormality in her figure, she would immediately add points to her figure to ensure a perfect golden ratio figure. In fact, have you ever wondered why Harry's broom suddenly went out of control during the game? Ron didn't notice Professor Snape's abnormality, but the fact that Malfoy's butt was burned made him happy for a long time. Could it be the broom? Just like Neville in our first flying lesson. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bring up Neville's previous scandal. Hermione shook her head at Harry and Ron. No. Hermione pretended to be smart and said, remember, when the troll happened before, Harry suspected that it was Professor Snape's fault. Including before the game, Professor Snape threatened Harry. Ron and Harry knew these two things. Hermione continued to analyze. So, during the game, I observed that when Harry's broom was out of control, Professor Snape on the other side was looking directly at Harry and chanting spells. It was obvious that Professor Snape was doing something to Harry. First, he wanted to retaliate against Harry for being in the troll and ruining his plan. Second, as the head of the Slytherin house, he certainly didn't want Harry to be able to catch the snitch smoothly. There was a reason and evidence, and there was a witness. Hermione's dirty trick was perfect. The system immediately prompted, congratulations on completing option 3, and get a basic attribute +1 reward. Ron was immediately furious when he heard it. Damn it, this Professor Snape is so bad. Harry, we can't just let this go. We must tell Headmaster Dumbledore. Hermione stopped him, saying, no, relying solely on my testimony, it is impossible to make Professor Snape confess completely. On the contrary, we will alert the enemy. Hermione didn't want her behavior to be exposed in front of Professor Snape and Dumbledore, so Hermione must stop it. If she is not involved, Harry and Ron can just report it. Harry nodded. Hermione is right. We told Hagrid about our suspicions about Professor Snape, but Hagrid didn't believe it. Headmaster Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall will certainly not believe us. Ron was anxious. Then what should we do? We can't let Professor Snape continue to do evil. Hermione's guidance was no longer needed. Harry quickly thought of something important. Professor Snape's ultimate goal is the Philosopher's Stone in the Forbidden Corridor on the 4th floor. As long as he makes a move next time, we will have enough evidence. Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 39, Hagrid's Norwegian Ridgeback. In this way, Hermione cleverly became the butterfly flapping its wings behind the scenes. It seemed dispensable, but in fact it was secretly controlling everything. Hermione quietly added this precious basic attribute to strength. Accumulated, strength +2, cautious miss. Hermione still hopes that she can develop in a balanced way, although she currently has few strength points. But perhaps one day, Hermione can lift Harry and Ron at the same time without any effort and become the most beautiful female strongman in the history of the wizarding world. Because of Hermione's dirty water and misleading, Harry and Ron's resentment towards Professor Snape almost reached the extreme. Harry even worried that Professor Snape failed to successfully obtain Philosopher's Stone by releasing the troll the first time, so he must have experienced the second time. So in order to know what the shortcomings of the three-headed dog in the forbidden corridor on the 4th floor are, they decided to go to Hagrid again. The school stipulates that they are not allowed to run around at night, otherwise they will lose school points. So Hermione spoke out to stop Harry and Ron. "We can wait until daytime, there's no need to go at night." Ron replied, "Oh, Hermione, you're too timid. What if Professor Snape finds a way to steal the Philosopher's Stone tonight?" Hermione retorted, "I'm not timid, I'm being careful and taking a long-term view." Harry's glasses reflected the moonlight. He thought for a moment, agreed with Hermione's opinion and said, "Hermione is right, we're too anxious." Who knew at this time, a system option would pop up in front of Hermione? Damn, Hermione knew that there would be something interesting to watch next. Option 1. Go back to sleep quietly, don't make trouble, don't cause trouble, complete the task and reward 1 bucket of paint. Option 2. Teach Harry and Ron to dance outdoors, complete the task, reward basic attribute +1. Option 3. Persuade Harry and Ron to find Hagrid, trigger the dinosaur egg plot, complete the task and reward basic attribute +2. Oh my goodness, is it so exciting? Dance outdoors? If Professor McGonagall catches this on the spot, she will deduct all Gryffindor credits and arrange for expulsion. What Hermione didn't expect the most was that triggering the task of finding Hagrid could actually gain 2 basic attributes at once. This was too valuable for Hermione to refuse. Compared to paint, it was a no-brainer. The moonlight shone through the window, casting a bright light on Hermione's body, as if she was wearing a beautiful wedding dress, making her clean and perfect little face so beautiful that it was breathtaking. "Hey, wait." Hermione suddenly changed her words 180 degrees and said, "I just thought about it. Maybe Ron is right. In special times, we shouldn't be too timid. We should take risks. After all, we are Gryffindor students." Ron didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Hermione, you're here again. You're always so capricious," Hermione scolded. "Is it wrong for girls to be a little fickle?" Ron immediately said in dog-licking mode, "That's right, Miss Hermione, no matter what you do or say, it's the most correct." Harry coughed. "In that case, let's go ask Hagrid again." Harry made his goal clear. "This time we want to ask Hagrid if he has seen any strangers recently, and what weaknesses his pet three-headed dog has." Hermione added, "We have to ask carefully, otherwise Hagrid will suspect that we are the bad guys who want to steal the Philosopher's Stone, and we will be self-defeating." Ron encouraged on the side. "Oh, Hermione, you use a lot of idioms." Hermione said, "Of course, I'm a good student." Ron secretly rolled his eyes. Would a good student suddenly change his mind and violate school rules to see Hagrid in the middle of the night? The 3 little guys quickly trotted to Hagrid's side. Although Hermione got the invisibility cloak during the day, her invisibility cloak can only be worn by 1 person. Besides, Hermione didn't want to reveal the fact that she had the invisibility cloak for the time being. Although Hagrid's hut was not big, it was very messy, and there were a lot of messy things inside. The fire was burning in the kettle, and inside the kettle there was an egg that was bigger than an ostrich egg. It looked a bit like Hagrid's dinner, although it was past dinner time, so it was a midnight snack. Hagrid was a little unhappy when he heard the furtive knock on the door. Because he had smelled something, he got up, opened the door, and saw the 3 familiar little guys. Hagrid's expression was 3 parts helpless, 3 parts melancholy, 3 parts complicated, and 1 part surprised. "Harry, although I want to congratulate you on your excellent performance in the Quidditch match during the day, I remember that I had already congratulated you during the day. Don't be nervous, Mr. Hagrid. We are just here for a midnight snack." In order to complete the task, Hermione spoke first. "Mr. Hagrid, what are you burning on this fire? It smells so good." "Is it good?" Ron and Harry both frowned. They just felt that the smell of burning dinosaur eggs was particularly unpleasant. Hagrid finally realized what was going on and quickly took the kettle off. He said carefully, "This is not a midnight snack, Ms. Hermione." "What is this, Hagrid?" Harry seemed to understand that Hermione deliberately changed the subject in order to prevent Hagrid from being too defensive about the 3 of them coming late at night. Hagrid was a careless person, As long as he was not on guard, he would inadvertently reveal the information they wanted. If Hagrid had been on guard from the beginning, then it would have been impossible to say. Harry felt that Hermione was a natural language master, but he didn't know that Hermione just wanted to trigger the dinosaur egg for the system option task. If it weren't for the 2 basic attribute points, Hermione might have been sleeping with a paint bucket by now. Anyway, it has nothing to do with you. Hagrid certainly wouldn't answer on his own initiative. Ron observed the oval object in Hagrid's hand that looked a little hot. It looks like an egg. This is the first time I've seen an egg this big. Harry looked like he had never seen the world. Hagrid still wanted to hide it. However, at this moment, the half-cooked dinosaur egg that had just been roasted by the fire suddenly cracked, and a little dinosaur jumped directly onto the table, stumbling and stretching its wings, and stood up. At this time, Hermione pretended to be surprised and said, "Oh my God, what is this, a dinosaur?" At this moment, the system that only Hermione could see directly prompted, "Congratulations on completing the option 3 task, reward basic attributes +2, so cool." Hermione instantly felt that the adventure tonight was worth it. Ron began to show his expertise and said, "Oh my God, this is a Norwegian Ridgeback. I have seen it in the photos sent by my brother." Harry immediately asked cleverly, "Hagrid, how do you have a Norwegian Ridgeback? The school prohibits raising dragons." Hagrid was panicked at this time. He was at a loss, but because of his love for special pets, he held the Ridgeback in his arms and said, This is something someone lost to me in the pub." Hagrid recalled, "That person seemed to be eager to lose to me." At this time, the Norwegian Ridgeback suddenly spit out flames and directly burned Hagrid's beard. "Oh, this cute little guy is still a little naughty. It must be hungry." Hermione began to secretly add points to herself, accumulating strength +4. Ron was very concerned about this dragon. It was his first time to see a living dragon, which was very rare, especially a newly born dragon. Only Harry was not attracted by the Norwegian Ridgeback, the big winged lizard that could spit fire. Harry continued to ask Hagrid, "Hagrid, do you remember what the man who deliberately lost the dragon egg to you looked like? Thank you all for your rewards. Thank you all for your monthly tickets. Thank you all for your investment. Thank you all for your recommendation tickets. Thank you all for your collections. And thank you all." Chapter 40. No matter how strong he is, the breeze blows across the hills. Obviously, in some dim cabins, under the light, although Harry was wearing glasses, the wisdom in his eyes was shining. Hagrid's attention was on the little Norwegian Ridgeback dragon that had just been roasted to 3/4 rare. He subconsciously followed Harry's words and explained, "The man's dress at the time. I can't remember it clearly." Harry was anxious. "Is that man Professor Snape?" Hagrid finally reacted. He put out the fire on his beard that had just been burned by the little Ridgeback dragon and questioned Harry. "Why did you suddenly mention Professor Snape?" "Although Professor Snape looks a little annoying, Harry, you shouldn't be so prejudiced against him." Hagrid began to be on guard again. Ron's subconscious behavior once again let Hagrid down his guard. Ron's eyes lit up. Like Hagrid, he was very interested in this Norwegian Ridgeback dragon that had just been roasted by fire. "Look, this dragon is so handsome." Hagrid was very happy to hear what Ron said. "You're right. It's a lovely little guy." Miss Hermione finished adding points and wanted to keep a low profile and not participate, but the system popped up options again. Option 1. Tell Hagrid that he was deceived. We came here just to trick him, and get us out. Complete the task. Reward 1 fence sitter. Option 2. Drool. Praise this Norwegian Ridgeback dragon. If it is made into a delicious barbecue, it must be tender and fresh. Complete the task. Reward 1 set of exquisite tableware. Option 3. Cooperate with Harry to act. Trick out the shortcomings of the 3-headed dog. Complete the task and reward basic attributes +1. It's too obvious. The first 2 options are stupid. Although Hermione considers herself a foodie, she is not greedy enough to eat roasted dragon meat. Although seeing this option, inexplicable tears flowed from the corners of her mouth. Hermione wiped them subconsciously. Then she said to Hagrid, "Mr. Hagrid, this dragon is hard to come by, and you should give it a nice name immediately." Hagrid really let down his guard again, and he focused on this Norwegian Ridgeback dragon that he loved very much at first sight. "That's right, let's call him Norbert." "What a nice name." Hermione looked at Harry subtly, and then Harry seemed to read the meaning in Hermione's eyes. Although in this magical world, Ron is a bootlicker, Malfoy is a domineering pursuer, and only Harry is a steel straight man. But it is precisely this steel straight man Harry who has a better understanding with Hermione here. After a long time of getting along, Harry can actually read Hermione's meaning with just a glance from Hermione. Harry immediately did not miss this precious opportunity and asked Hagrid the most critical question. "Hagrid, didn't the person who deliberately lost your dragon ask you for other relevant information? For example, the three-headed dog?" Hagrid was still obsessed with the name of the Norwegian Ridgeback. He subconsciously answered, "That person really asked." "When I got the dragon egg, I was happy to say, Fluffy, the name of the three-headed dog, is a very rare three-headed dog. I raised it, so it only listens to me. And Fluffy has a secret that only I know, that is music. As long as you play beautiful music, it will fall asleep quietly." At this point, Hagrid's hand that was stroking the Norwegian Ridgeback froze. He instantly thought of something, covered his mouth with exclamation, and said in horror, "Oh my God, I actually revealed this important secret. I shouldn't say it, I shouldn't say it." At this time, Ron also reacted and no longer focused on the Norwegian Ridgeback like Hagrid. Hermione, Ron and Harry looked at each other and saw from each other's eyes that the situation was very bad. It turns out that the three-headed dog guarding the Philosopher's Stone really has a weakness, and it was exposed by the careless Hagrid because he obtained the dinosaur egg. "Oh no, Professor Snape must also know this secret. We have to go back quickly and tell Headmaster Dumbledore this news." At this time, even if Headmaster Dumbledore is just a bystander, he should play an important role. Hermione was secretly happy. The system prompted, "Congratulations on completing task option 3, reward basic attribute +1. Hermione did not hesitate and added to strength again, accumulating strength +5. Hermione didn't feel anything from the previous points, but now it has reached 5, and her whole body is filled with new strength. Hermione felt that she could now chop heads with her bare hands and bend steel bars. Of course, the ladylike Miss Hermione would not do such a boring thing. Critical moment. Hagrid, who was fully awake, noticed a noise outside the window. When he saw that it was a first-year student Malfoy with his hair combed back, Hagrid suddenly felt that the sky had fallen. Too many unexpected things happened tonight. "It's over." Hagrid felt that the dragon he had just obtained was no longer safe. The school was not allowed to raise dragons. If it was Hermione, Ron and Harry, the three of them might help Hagrid keep it a secret, but that born bad guy Malfoy would definitely not help Hagrid keep it a secret. Hermione did not expect the system option to pop up again. The system is working overtime very hard tonight. Option 1. Immediately capture Malfoy, stealth kill to silence him, complete the task reward 1 poisonous dagger. Option 2. Agree to Malfoy to be his girlfriend, and alienate Ron and Harry, let Malfoy keep the secret, complete the task reward basic attribute +1. Option 3. He can be as strong as he wants, the breeze blows over the hills. He can be as arrogant as he wants, the bright moon shines on the river, complete the task reward 1 set of comfortable quilt. Although option 2 has the greatest benefits, but Hermione will not wrong herself, so this option is impossible. Option 1, on the contrary, can trigger Hermione's hidden other personality, cruel and bloody. Sister likes it. However, killing Malfoy for such a small matter is a bit too murderous. The dark emotions in his mind were gone, and he just wanted to have fun. Hermione was not a murderer, and she would definitely not do that. So it seemed that he could only let him do what he wanted. It just so happened that the weather was getting colder, and Miss Hermione was just thinking about changing to a comfortable quilt. Catch up with him, or it will be bad. Ron had a grudge against Malfoy, so of course he couldn't let him go. The three little guys chased after him immediately, but Malfoy ran too fast and disappeared. Harry was still thinking about the heavy news that Hagrid had just revealed, and he didn't care that much about Malfoy. After all, Malfoy was nothing compared to the Philosopher's Stone in the forbidden area of the corridor on the 4th floor. I remember Hagrid always wanted a dragon, and someone happened to lose a dragon egg to Hagrid. The other party must be trying to get information about the three-headed dog from Hagrid, and already knew the weakness of the three-headed dog. Ron said dejectedly, "Harry, I don't think we should consider this now. Malfoy found out that we went out to find Hagrid at night. We should know who he is." Harry asked, "Is this bad?" "Yes, very bad." Miss Hermione followed the two of them. She didn't speak, not because the director didn't give her any lines. She came from a different world, so it didn't matter even if she talked all the way. It's just that she received a new quilt in the system, and she planned to lie down next and no longer care about the right and wrong in the world. Love whoever. New book, please support. Thank you everyone. Chapter 41 No Poison. No man. The night at Hogwarts is full of weird atmosphere. The dark forest outside the window points directly to the most terrifying heart of human beings, as if there is an invisible abyss that can swallow up the soul and body of a person in one bite. Only the body is left. Under the dim and swaying lights of the corridor, you can see the handsome smile of Malfoy, who was not caught just now, with a treacherous plan. His wretched eyes with a triumphant light are so refreshing when he sees Harry and Ron who are panicking. Only when he sees Hermione, his eyes will reveal a complexity, 2 points of sadness, 3 points of regret for not being able to make a good man, and 4 points of not being a man without poison. In the original play, Malfoy had no interest in Miss Hermione at all, and even in the second movie, he insulted Hermione as a mudblood in public. Mudblood means that Hermione's parents are both Muggles, referring to Hermione's extremely low origin in the magic world. On this side, Hermione, with her beauty and charming personality, successfully made Malfoy's worldview follow her appearance. Even such a noble villain who valued bloodline was actually bent by Miss Hermione. What's more infuriating is that in the past half semester, Malfoy has tried every possible way, but has never won Hermione's heart. On the contrary, Harry and Ron, whom Malfoy hates the most, have become closer and closer to Miss Hermione. This made Malfoy so angry that he vomited blood. Therefore, this time he successfully reported Hermione, Ron and Harry, but he still had a little bit of sympathy for Hermione. But a man without venom is not a hero. Who made Hermione be with Ron and Harry? She deserved it. Such a beautiful woman should be with him to have a future. She deserved it. Malfoy. Ron knew it was not good. This brat appeared here with a smirk on his face at this time, which must be a sign of the coming storm. Sure enough, after Malfoy was Professor McGonagall. Professor McGonagall is tall and thin. Although she often wears different hats to decorate herself, it is undeniable that she is really serious. Especially at this moment, she looks extremely upset. 3 of her Gryffindor students were caught by Slytherin students because they were disobedient. As the vice president and the dean of Gryffindor, Professor McGonagall certainly feels ashamed at this moment. Professor McGonagall. At this moment, Harry also knew that something was wrong. In the dungeon, Malfoy was in a good mood. Since Harry defeated the troll and won the Quidditch trophy, Malfoy has never been so happy. Good friends and partners of justice all hope that Harry will be more successful and are happy for his success. Only villains and bad guys hope that Harry will be unlucky, and it would be best if he falls from grace. Harry, Ron and Hermione sat upright, looking like good students. Professor McGonagall stood in front, really hating him, and was so angry. Ron and Harry, the two troublemakers, let alone, now even the good girl, Miss Hermione, who has excellent academic performance, has learned bad things, which is what makes Professor McGonagall most sad. Going out late at night is a serious violation of school discipline. 50 points will be deducted. Each of you will be deducted 50 points. Harry and Ron were simply stunned. This deduction was beyond their expectations. It was too serious. You know, at the beginning, they only rewarded 5 points for defeating the troll. 5 points for each person. Now just because they went out at night, 50 points were deducted for each person. It was too serious. Professor McGonagall, isn't this too serious? Ron regretted very much that he didn't listen to Hermione's suggestion that he shouldn't violate school rules, but then he thought about it, and it seemed that it was Hermione who suggested to go to Hagrid again. and saw the 3 cooked dinosaur eggs. Professor McGonagall glared at Ron directly. No more explanation. Now, all 4 of you, go to detention. After Professor McGonagall announced the punishment, Malfoy, who was laughing and laughing happily, was stunned for a moment. The handsome smile was still frozen on his face. Malfoy's body was stiff, and then he asked in disbelief, "Professor McGonagall, did I hear you wrong? You said 4 people? Is there another person in the air?" Professor McGonagall looked at Malfoy and said seriously, "Mr. Malfoy, you didn't hear wrong. Although you reported the student, you also violated the school rules and went out late at night, so you will also be punished with detention." "Oh yeah," Ron cheered happily. It was too uncomfortable to be deducted 50 points. You know, the score of the entire college in the final exam was only 300 or 400 points. Now Gryffindor has been deducted 150 points directly because of the 3 little heroes Ron, Harry and Hermione. If other Gryffindor students knew about it, they would probably cut these 3 evildoers into pieces. Malfoy wanted to refute, but he was powerless to refute. He was indeed the reporter, but he did go out of school with him. Damn it! Malfoy gritted his teeth in anger. Hermione looked at the nose and the heart. She had already expected this result. It didn't matter. However, at this time, the system is still working overtime, which is quite hard. Option 1. Follow Ron to taunt Malfoy. You deserve to be unlucky for harming others and yourself, and you will be rewarded with a loudspeaker for completing the task. Option 2. Tell Malfoy that I have remembered what happened today, and I will make him live a life worse than death in the future, and you will be rewarded with a level 3 helmet for completing the task. Option 3. Glare at Malfoy, and you will be rewarded with a flashlight for completing the task. Oh my! The rewards for these 3 options are not particularly impressive. However, the level 3 helmet looks great. This made Hermione hesitate. Is it better to directly fight with Malfoy here to get the level 3 helmet, or is it simpler to just get a flashlight? I'm afraid this flashlight is a Da Vinci brand flashlight, which will only light up when there is light, and will never light up when there is no light. In order to carry out her sweet little beauty personality, Hermione temporarily gave up the level 3 helmet. She chose to glare at Malfoy, and Malfoy seemed to feel Hermione's eyes, and he smiled awkwardly. After Professor McGonagall left, he came over quietly and explained to Hermione in a low voice, "I don't want to report you, I want to report Harry Potter and Ron, who told you not to listen to me and always hang out with them. They are dirty and smelly. What's good about them?" Malfoy was the most aristocratic, so he naturally thought that Ron and Harry were dirty and smelly. This was an insulting word, not that they were really dirty and smelly. Seeing that Miss Hermione still seemed to have not forgiven Malfoy, Malfoy was arrogant and didn't intend to continue explaining, but men are all cheap, especially in front of the girl they like. Even though Miss Hermione ignored him, Malfoy was still fascinated by Hermione. In order to please Hermione, he actually took out the green hat that Hermione gave him before, put it directly on his head, and said to Hermione with a pleasant face, "Look, the gift you gave me. I still wear it with me." Hermione saw that Malfoy was wearing a green hat on his head, which was also a bit funny, and burst into laughter and said, "Go away, I don't bother to pay attention to you. Congratulations on completing option 3, and reward 1 flashlight. What a pity, a level 3 helmet. Hopefully this reward will be included in the system options in the future, and Hermione will choose this then." Harry was already used to seeing Malfoy, the second-generation rich kid, trying to please Hermione. Only Ron was a little depressed. Fortunately, Miss Hermione didn't look at Malfoy well, which was a little comforting. After all, Miss Hermione had a noble heart, and she wouldn't like Malfoy just because of his handsome looks and powerful status. Miss Hermione was different from other girls. Thank you all for your support. Thank you. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, entering the forbidden dark forest. The flashlight is also very convenient to use when being punished. Hermione gradually adjusted her mentality. The slightly scary-looking janitor Filch appeared. He was still holding his cat, Mrs. Norris. It can be seen that he and his cat have a very good relationship. Although Miss Hermione likes furry pets, she lives a more realistic life. She doesn't like to take care of pets, nor does she like cat and dog hair falling everywhere. So Hermione rarely keeps pets, but she doesn't hate pets. She is just afraid of trouble. Let me see. Who are the 4 little brats who are punished this time? The famous Harry Potter, Noble Malfoy, red-haired Ron, and the beautiful Miss Hermione. Although the janitor is a person that almost all students in the school hate to see, he is not bad to Hermione. Maybe Hermione is really too cute. Her smile is too sweet, and she looks too beautiful. Not only that, Hermione has a good personality, almost never argues with others, and her studies are good. Miss Hermione Granger, you really shouldn't have gotten involved with these 3 bastards, Hermione said helplessly. I'm sorry. If she hadn't coveted the system reward, she would be sleeping in the dormitory with a paint bucket in her arms. Harry and Ron are used to being scolded by the elders. If they ask themselves, they are indeed a worry, but Malfoy can't accept such an evaluation. In the heart of the noble Malfoy, everything in the world has a class. There are luxurious villas, and there are ordinary cabins. There are expensive wines, bags and jewelry, and there are cheap rags and plastics. There are luxury cars, and there are ordinary small broken cars. People are the same. There are different classes. Malfoy's father is not only powerful, but also belongs to the highest class. Harry's father's family is barely acceptable. Ron has pure blood, but is down and out. Only Hermione has no blood and no power. In the original play, her status is low, whether in the movie or the novel. But on this side of the crossing, Hermione relied on her absolute beauty to successfully break this solid class. As long as Hermione appeared, no matter how low-key she was, no one would ignore her beauty, and would forget her origin. What they saw in their eyes was her beauty and her beauty. However, being ridiculed by the janitor Filch made Malfoy very uncomfortable. Malfoy immediately retorted, I warn you, Filch, don't classify me with the dirty Harry Potter Ron. Humphrey. Although Filch was disliked by many students, there was one good thing about Filch, that is, he would not treat Malfoy specially because of his status. He also didn't look good to Malfoy. When taking these 4 little ghosts to punish, Filch also threatened, I really miss the past. At that time, the punishment for students who violated school rules was to hang them in the detention room with their thumbs tied, and the screams could be heard far away. Malfoy looked ugly. Harry and Ron were also pale. On the contrary, the timid and cautious Hermione was not very scared, because in her mind, the janitor Filch was not dangerous except that he was ugly, had a strange personality, and spoke in a bad way. The real danger was Voldemort and the various hidden dangers of the school. For example, Quidditch, the restricted 3-headed dog and the troll. Although the 3-headed dog looked a little honest, it would bite off half of the body. Not to mention Quidditch, it was normal to break arms and legs, or even paralyzed the whole body, especially Voldemort. Hermione kept a distance from this thing. Is that the restricted dark forest? Malfoy complained. Filch, why did you bring us here? Aren't we in detention? Filch smiled cruelly. This is your punishment. Hagrid has something to investigate and just needs manpower. The terrifying dark forest was like a devil crawling on the ground. If you get close to it, you can feel the cold wind and your scalp tingling. There were also terrifying wolf howls in the depths of the forest. Filch, this dark forest is a restricted area. There are werewolves in it. Malfoy was scared. Everyone is afraid of death, especially those who are born rich and live a happy life. They are more likely to be afraid of death, because such people enjoy every day. Of course they don't want to die. Only those who live a life worse than death and spend every day like a year will be unable to get over it. Filch sneered. Obviously, there are more than just werewolves in this forest. Filch did not sympathize with Malfoy at all. In his eyes, no matter who the students who violated the school rules were, no matter how severe the punishment was, it was not excessive. Hermione thought that the system should be off work at this time, and no overtime pay was given. and it was so late. Unexpectedly, the system option still popped up. Miss Hermione has not used the flashlight she just got yet to check. Option 1. Bribe Filch not to punish himself. Complete the task and get a basic attribute +1. Option 2. Tell Malfoy, the idiot, to be more manly and learn from Harry and Ron. They didn't make a fuss. Complete the task and get a trap. Option 3. Keep silent and go with the flow. Get a bottle of Coke and a bag of spicy strips. No doubt, bribing Filch is the most promising. Not only can you avoid punishment, but also gain basic attribute points. What a pity. The upright Miss Hermione would never do such a thing as bribery, but Hermione's brain was calculating frantically. What can I bribe? Fine wine? Delicious food? Toilet paper? Toilet brush? Oh, right, cat food. Filch likes his cat so much. If he gives him the cat's favorite cat food, he will definitely be able to bribe successfully. Bribery requires giving him what he likes. Hermione suddenly found that there were a lot of daily necessities in her space ring, but there was no cat food. So, the bribe failed. If there is no way to bribe successfully at one time, Hermione can't afford to lose that person, so she just goes with the flow. Congratulations on completing option task 3. Reward 1 bottle and 1 bag of cola spicy strips. Hermione plans to taste this noble delicacy of the common people in private. Soon came to Hagrid. Half an hour ago, Hagrid was still happy to get a medium-rare Norwegian Ridgeback Norbert, but now he is holding a hunting crossbow, standing with a look of despair, as if it is not me who is wrong, but the world. Come on, Hagrid, don't be sad. Although Filch's voice is unpleasant, it is rare for him to speak to comfort Hagrid. It's not because Filch and Hagrid have a good relationship, but Filch can empathize with him. Filch's favorite pet is his cat, Mrs. Norris, and Hagrid just got a beloved dragon, and then it was sent away because of Malfoy's report. It can be regarded as feeling sorry for this poor Hagrid. Harry and Ron haven't reacted yet. They were deducted 50 points each because of Malfoy's report. Hagrid explained to Harry, "My beloved Norbert has been sent away. Headmaster Dumbledore sent him away personally. The school doesn't allow dragons, so it's only a matter of time before they are sent away." Filch pointed at the 4 people behind him and said, "They were punished for violating school rules and were put in detention. You just happened to be short of manpower, so I'll leave them to you." Hagrid glared at Malfoy. It was all because of this damn bad boy. But Hagrid was not a narrow-minded person. As an elder, how could he treat a child in the same way? Hagrid put away his lost mood and said, "Okay, the 4 of you follow me closely. The Forbidden Forest is very dangerous at night." Filch looked at the punished students who followed Hagrid into the dark forest in fear, and he was very happy. He liked to see undisciplined students being punished the most. The more scared, screaming, and terrified the punished students were, the happier Mr. Filch was. Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 43 The Wounded Unicorn. The horror of the restricted area is like a devil in the dark night. It not only exists in people's fear consciousness, but also in the actual situation. Whether it is the air, the sound, or every pore of the body, there is danger. Hermione felt a little cold after entering. Not only physically cold, but also mentally cold. She subconsciously took out some clothes that could make people warmer from the space ring. Hermione almost forgot where her knitted scarf came from, but after putting it on, it did make people feel warmer. Hermione didn't notice that when she put on this seemingly inconspicuous scarf because she was cold. Ron noticed it and immediately became happy. Ron's family is not very rich, and even most of Ron's school books are second-hand, but this scarf is the only one that Ron's mother knitted with magic. It is new and Ron has never used it. A few months ago, on the train, after Hermione gave him a green hat, Ron gave this scarf to Hermione. Although Ron saw that Hermione was so beautiful, he didn't expect that Ms. Hermione was so popular in the school and received gifts from admirers almost every day. The key is that Miss Hermione can always handle these things well, even including Malfoy. Ron thought that among the many gifts, Miss Hermione had already forgotten the most ordinary scarf given by Ron. Unexpectedly, when danger came and Hermione felt a little cold, she would first wear the scarf he gave her. "What are you looking at, Ron?" Hermione noticed that Ron's eyes were not right. If it was daytime and in school, Hermione would not care. This is the dark forest, surrounded by a strange and cold atmosphere. Ron stared at her like this, and his expression was a little weird in the dim light, which was really a little weird and scary. Hermione didn't realize that the scarf she just wore was given by Ron. Hermione not only received too many gifts, but also got things from the system options every day, which added up to almost enough to open a small supermarket. If Hermione hadn't been generous enough to share the snacks she didn't like with her roommates, and if her space ring wasn't big enough, she probably wouldn't have been able to fit them all. She didn't remember what Ron had given her at first. No, nothing. Ron was still a little shy, especially with the annoying Malfoy next to him. Of course, Ron wouldn't say that the scarf Hermione was wearing was given by him. Malfoy certainly didn't know about the scarf, and he laughed. "Is this kid scared? You're really embarrassing, Ron." Harry immediately stood up for Ron and said, "Malfoy, you'd better be honest. If you can't speak, don't speak." Humphrey. When Malfoy was about to say something, the tall Hagrid said, "Although I admire your courage to come to the dark forest at night and have a quarrel, I advise you to keep your voice down. It's still very dangerous here." Suddenly, ghosts and wolves howled in the depths of the dark forest, and gusts of cold wind blew. Malfoy, Ron, and Harry immediately felt their hair stand on end. The naughty children immediately stopped talking. "Hagrid, what is this?" Harry saw Hagrid suddenly squat down and pick up the liquid on the ground with his fingers, which looked like mercury. The liquid looked quite strange in this place, and it also exuded a strange and indescribable smell. Hagrid looked helpless and distressed and said, "This is the blood of a unicorn. We came to patrol the dark forest tonight for this. Some time ago, a unicorn was killed. Obviously, this unicorn was also seriously injured." Harry frowned and asked, "Who did it?" Hagrid stood up and sighed, "I don't know, but what is certain is that anyone who dares to kill even a pure unicorn must be very evil." Hearing this, Malfoy and Ron shuddered. Hermione also tightened her body, and at the same time, the system option popped up at this time. Option 1. Taste the blood of the unicorn. Maybe you can live forever. Complete the task and get a solar charger. Option 2. Tell Hagrid that the murderer might be Voldemort, because only Voldemort can do such a thing. Complete the task and get a box of matches. Option 3. Require the team to be in a group with Harry Malfoy. Complete the task and get a basic attribute +1. Damn, Hermione was also drunk when she saw these 3 system options. This system option 1 is really disgusting. But when I think of the dishes she liked to eat before she traveled through time, such as Maozu Wang and sauerkraut fish, among which Maozu Wang is made of duck blood, maybe the precious unicorn blood on the ground can be processed and Maozu Wang can be made. TSK, it still feels disgusting. Although Hermione really wants the solar charger of option 1, just like the previous level 3 helmet, it feels very practical. However, Hermione really can't do this option. Option 2, first of all, the reward is too small, a box of matches. Who are you looking down on? At the very least, you should get a lighter, and it has to be windproof. Moreover, the mission requirements were tricky. The cautious Hermione didn't want to expose her knowledge of Voldemort directly. Keeping a low profile was the way to go. By elimination, although Hermione didn't want to choose option 3, unfortunately there was no option to go with the flow, so Hermione could only choose 3. Sure enough, when Hagrid saw the blood of the unicorn, he touched it and it was still warm, which meant that the unicorn had just been injured and might not have run far away. It was nearby, so they had to act separately to find the poor injured unicorn more easily. Hagrid said, "Next, we have to split into 2 teams. I will take Hermione and Ron. Harry, you and Malfoy will be in 1 team." Malfoy was unwilling to hear that. "This is not fair." Harry taunted. "What, Malfoy, are you scared?" Malfoy immediately said stubbornly, "Who is scared? I just don't trust you. Since we are splitting up like this, I want Fang." Fang is Hagrid's dog. Hagrid likes to keep some weird pets the most. At present, Hermione knows about Fluffy, a 3-headed dog, Norbert, a Norwegian Ridgeback that she almost succeeded in raising, and Fang. Fang is a Neapolitan Mastiff with a dull bark like thunder, and like Hagrid, he looks more ferocious than himself. So when he saw Malfoy making this request, Hagrid said directly, "Think it over. Fang is very timid." Malfoy said firmly, "I want Fang." Hermione had no choice but to exclude the first two that could not be done for the sake of the system options, and could only choose what she could do slightly. Hermione took out her wand and pretended to muster up her courage and said, "I learn spells better than both of them. If I join them, I can play a certain role at a critical moment." Hermione. Ron was puzzled why Hermione proposed to be with Malfoy, even though there was still Harry. After taking a look at Hermione, Hagrid scolded Malfoy, "Look at you, Malfoy. Miss Hermione is braver than you." Malfoy ignored Hagrid's sarcasm. Instead, he was very moved by Hermione's action and said, "Miss Hermione, it turns out you have always had me in your heart." Hermione said disdainfully, "You think too much, Mr. Malfoy." "I'm just worried that Fang will be wronged if she follows you. Ha ha ha." Harry couldn't help laughing. "Don't laugh, Harry Potter." Malfoy was angry. Hagrid said, Okay, stop arguing. Let's divide into groups like this. Ron and I will be in one group. Harry, Malfoy, and Hermione, you will take Fang in another group. We must find the injured unicorn as soon as possible. Do you understand? Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 44 Light Magic. When there are many people, some weird atmosphere can be dispelled. Just like in horror movies, most of the supporting characters are killed, separated and killed one by one. But as long as they are united, although there will be the fear that may be faced in disaster movies, that fear is bloody physical fear. It is not the psychological horror in ghost movies. The two kinds of horror are different. In the original play, Malfoy held the lamp and led the dog, not because he was more diligent. It was because the dark forest at night was too scary. If the only light was given to Harry, Malfoy would feel insecure. Similarly, the dog Fang was the same. Only when Malfoy led him, he would feel safe. Malfoy did the same thing here. He used conversation to cover up the real purpose of his behavior. Hermione, you know, if my father knew that I was working as a servant now, he would be furious. There was no Hermione in the original play, only Malfoy and Harry. Malfoy could only find something to say to Harry to dispel his inner fear. On this side, with the beautiful Miss Hermione beside him, Malfoy naturally spoke to Hermione first. Hermione smiled and said, "Who told you to report us? You deserve this punishment." Hearing Hermione say this, Malfoy was full of resentment. "How dare you say that? I, Malfoy, am a nobleman. I have never been so kind to girls born in commoner families. Why don't you listen to me and get involved with Harry Potter and Ron?" Hermione also understood Malfoy's temper. She was not as afraid to offend him as she was at the beginning. Hermione said, "Mr. Malfoy, please respect yourself. You are a nobleman." Malfoy was so angry that his hair was messed up, but Malfoy really couldn't hurt this little beauty who was as beautiful as a work of art. Malfoy looked at Hermione's delicate and flawless little face a few more times, and sighed more than once. Why, there is such a beautiful girl in the world. If there is another girl who looks so cute and beautiful in Hogwarts, Malfoy will immediately give up Hermione. Unfortunately, there is no such a girl. Scarcity makes things valuable. Miss Hermione is so unique, and Malfoy wants her, so there is nothing he can do. Forget it. I don't want to argue with you. Sooner or later you will understand that I, Malfoy, am the only one in Hogwarts who deserves you. Hermione did not offend him too much. After all, there was Harry watching the joke, so she gave Malfoy some face. In case Malfoy turned his love into hatred and destroyed her if he couldn't get her, Hermione was still a little worried. Now that Hermione has magic spells and soft power in all aspects, she is actually not afraid of Malfoy. Otherwise, she would not have taken the opportunity to burn his ass last time. However, Malfoy's father, who is a Death Eater behind him, is what Hermione is more afraid of at the moment. Lucius Malfoy is an out-and-out villain, and Malfoy is his only son. If Hermione kills his son, Lucius will inevitably retaliate. I hope so. Hermione glanced at Malfoy and stopped talking to him about this topic. It's plain hard to get again. Malfoy was about to collapse because of Miss Hermione's trick. In Malfoy's eyes, Miss Hermione is simply a green tea, a scumbag. Although she doesn't seem to be with any boy, she doesn't offend any boy. She always gives the other party away out inadvertently. Let others see her beauty, hear her voice, and even have the honor of smelling her refreshing perfume. But unfortunately, they can't get her. Even Hermione's little hand, he can't touch it. Of course, Malfoy is still young now, and he doesn't want to get Hermione like an adult. He is like a domineering bear child. When he sees a beautiful toy, he wants to grab it. He just wants the beautiful Miss Hermione to be by his side and play with him every day. Seeing Hermione often with Harry and Ron, he feels uncomfortable, that's all. After all, they are only 11 years old now, and they don't have too complicated and messy emotions. This is the first time Harry has seen how Hermione plays Malfoy without temper. Harry didn't expect that Malfoy was the top bully in school, but he would fail so miserably in the matter of chasing girls. But Hermione had a high IQ. She didn't break up with Malfoy after rejecting him. Otherwise, with Malfoy's personality, he wouldn't have been soft-hearted even if Miss Hermione was very beautiful. The three of them had their own thoughts. Suddenly, Fang started barking, whining in a warning tone at the darkness ahead. "Fang, what's wrong with you?" "Fang." Malfoy began to panic. Suddenly, under the moonlight, in the extremely dim front, the crisscrossing tree roots looked like the devil's beard. On the cold ground, there seemed to be a dead unicorn lying, and a terrifying figure in a cloak was lying on the unicorn, drinking silver blood crazily. The cold feeling emanating from this terrifying figure was like falling into an ice cellar. Malfoy was immediately frightened. The instinctive desire to survive made him scream, and he turned and ran. It seemed that when danger came, Malfoy thought of something again. He rarely went beyond his selfish nature and shouted to Hermione, "Hermione, run!" Hermione was a little surprised. This Malfoy could still think of her when he was so scared. Looking back at the green hat on Malfoy's head, could this bad boy really like her? Guilty, guilty. Go. My legs are weak and I can't walk. In order to show her weakness, Hermione could only answer like this. Malfoy really wanted to pick up Miss Hermione and run away. But when he turned around, he saw the terrifying black-cloaked figure floating directly over. Oh my God! Malfoy's scalp was exploding. At this moment, he could no longer take care of his beloved Miss Hermione. He said, "I'm sorry," then he quickly ran away. Hermione sighed helplessly. She thought Malfoy would perform exceptionally, but unfortunately, it was still too disappointing. Boys laugh at girls for being too realistic. Little do they know that there are too many suitors around beautiful girls. Sometimes, there is no need to deliberately choose. Their actions are as clear as the chips on the table. In contrast, Harry didn't know if he was so scared that his legs went weak, but he didn't run away. Perhaps the justice in Harry's heart didn't allow him to retreat in the face of evil. If he ran away like Malfoy, what would happen to the poor unicorn? In this world, there must be some people who are not afraid of life and death, and stand up despite difficulties, even if they will be crushed to pieces. At this time, Hermione had no system options. This was also her first time facing Voldemort, the monster hidden in the ugly cloak. The pure unicorn corpse was lying there. Hermione thought she would be afraid. Hermione's timidity all came from her good luck since she was a child. Because she picked up too much money, there was an ancient horror prophecy that said that the money picked up was the money given by the wronged souls to sell their lives. If you pick it up, the wronged souls will come to claim your life. Hermione knew from a young age that many times she didn't dare to pick it up, but it would magically appear in her clothes pocket the next day, so she often had nightmares. After having too many nightmares, she became timid and cautious, until she picked up the admission letter from Hogwarts. Although coming to this dangerous and strange magical world is very dangerous, and she could lose her life at any time. However, it is amazing that since coming to this world, Hermione has never had a nightmare again, as if her soul came from here. Or perhaps, there is a huge secret hidden in her body. After all, ordinary people will not travel through time and space casually. Hermione thought that she would be scared to death when facing Voldemort, But in fact, only for a moment. Hermione would be as scared as Malfoy and want to escape. But the next moment, the second personality in her body was activated. Her eyes gradually lost emotion and became cold. What did she think of? In the face of difficulties, don't be afraid. Face him bravely. Ugh. Hermione instantly turned on the flashlight she had just obtained. The dazzling beam of light, in the dark night, was like a holy light magic, and shone directly at the floating cloak Voldemort who was attacking. Harry Potter on the side was stunned. Ugh. What kind of light magic is this? Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 45 Voldemort bites the unicorn to death. Hermione, who had always lived cautiously because of her special experience, did not expect that she could show such courage when facing a great evil person. Although she knew that she would definitely face a mess after this, but now, she could not afford to think too much. If the spell is considered magical damage, then the strong light flashlight is considered pure physical damage. Voldemort had just drunk the blood of the unicorn and was feeling proud. Suddenly, he was startled by a spell of Illusion. Before he could see the appearance of the person who cast the spell, a dazzling light attacked directly. Voldemort obviously saw this kind of light magic for the first time. Living in the dark, he instinctively felt scared and thought he was going to be seriously injured again. Female magicians have always been more terrifying. The omnipotent Voldemort became what he is today because of a curse from Harry Potter's mother. In the magic world, anyone who dares to underestimate female magicians will suffer miserable consequences. However, what Voldemort never dreamed of was that he thought his dirty soul would be pierced with holes because of this terrible light magic. I never expected that this was just light. And then, nothing happened. Damn it, Voldemort, whose name made the whole magic world tremble with fear, was fooled tonight. I thought it was advanced light magic, but it was just ordinary lightning. Kill you. Just as Voldemort came again with a rage, ready to kill Hermione and Harry directly, the late-coming centaur Firenze appeared. In the novel, he was handsome, with strangely blue eyes and shining white gold hair, and a silver body and silver ponytail. But in the movie, except for his strong physique, he seemed a little ordinary. Perhaps it was because there was no such handsome actor. Or perhaps, such a handsome actor should not play such a supporting role with almost no role. Boom boom boom. The centaur was indeed brave. His tall body jumped up and stepped directly at Voldemort with his front hooves. If it was Voldemort in his prime, he certainly wouldn't be afraid of this centaur. But now, forget it. Even if Voldemort defeated this centaur, there would be many enemies behind him. Voldemort couldn't kill all of Hogwarts. Voldemort simply left without even using any moves. The centaur Firenze also knew that he couldn't kill this almost undead creature Voldemort, so he didn't chase him. He first looked at Miss Hermione. This girl was really beautiful, and the flashlight Hermione just released was also unexpected, especially in this dark forest. However, the centaur Firenze still said to Harry first, "Harry Potter, you may have to leave here quickly. The whole forest knows your name. It's very dangerous for you to stay here." Maybe Harry didn't know what the danger was, but Hermione knew that in the second movie, there were spiders everywhere here, which was so scary that it made people's scalps numb. The proliferation of man-eating spiders was also caused by Hagrid. In modern civilized terms, it is a racial invasion. Those big spiders did not belong to the dark forest. Hagrid released them here, resulting in the spiders having no natural enemies and multiplying wildly. If it is a monster disaster horror movie, the source of the disaster here is Hagrid. Mr. Firenze. Hearing the noise and seeing the strong light, Hagrid and Ron rushed over quickly, but Malfoy had already run away, as well as the unreliable Fang. Hagrid obviously knew this strong centaur Firenze. "I guess you have met Harry Potter." Harry's brain circuit has always been clear. He knew what the doubts in his heart were, so when he saw the unicorn that had been bitten to death, he hated the floating villain even more in his heart. Who was that monster just now? The centaur Firenze explained. "Harry, drinking the blood of the unicorn can prolong life, but it will also be cursed. The only person who needs to do this, Harry, can't you guess who it is?" Harry immediately realized that when he faced the cloaked villain just now, the scar on Harry's forehead was extremely painful. Harry guessed it immediately and said, "It's Voldemort." Firenze said, "I should go now, Harry Potter, I wish you good luck." After that, the centaur went back into the dark forest. Hagrid checked the unicorn and said sadly, "It's dead." "Harry, Hermione, are you all right?" "Nothing." Harry and Hermione shook their heads. Ron looked at Hermione and Harry worriedly and said, "It's too dangerous." "You actually encountered the terrifying Voldemort." Harry and Hermione both smiled bitterly. At this time, Hagrid suddenly thought of something and asked, "Where are Malfoy and Fang?" Hermione joked, "I'm afraid they were captured by Voldemort and sliced up for Hot Pot." Hagrid, Harry and Ron were not very clear about what Hot Pot was. They roughly guessed that it was the kind of pot made by potion making. After they came out, Malfoy was still standing there pale outside the dark forest, with Fang next to him. At this time, Hermione's system options popped up. Option 1, scold Malfoy, saying that he was as timid as a mouse and afraid of death. Complete the task. Reward 1 bottle of shampoo. Option 2, tell Malfoy that your performance just now is really terrible. You don't deserve to wear the green hat I gave you, please give it back to me. Complete the task and reward 1 raincoat. Option 3, keep silent, treat indifferently. Complete the task and reward basic attribute +1. Option 1 is really cool, it's a way to vent. Option 2 is so funny. Hermione will not do this, how can she take back the green hat she gave away? Option 3 is okay. Malfoy saw that everyone returned safely, especially Hermione, whose pretty face was rosy and very beautiful. Suddenly, his heart became complicated. Malfoy hasn't figured out how to talk to Hermione. Should he ask her if she was in danger just now? Or should he ask what the monster that bit the unicorn to death was? Why is it floating? In fact, he should explain that his escape just now was just a physical instinct, and he actually felt guilty for abandoning Miss Hermione. However, Hagrid did not give Malfoy time to think, and said, "Malfoy, you left Harry and Hermione and ran away alone, which is really in line with the personality of your Malfoy family." Malfoy was angry and wanted to refute, but he could not find a reason. Hagrid clenched his teeth and left directly. "The mission tonight is over, and the murderer who killed the unicorn has been found. You all go back." Hermione, Malfoy did not have Harry and Ron in his eyes. Even if the two of them died and their bodies were torn into pieces by the monster, he would not care, but he could not ignore Hermione. However, Hermione had already chosen option 3, so she naturally ignored him and left without saying a word. Harry glanced at Malfoy, and also did not say anything, and followed him, but Ron could not help but sneer. "Master Malfoy is really brave." He ran away when he saw danger. "Ron, shut up." Malfoy was furious. But when everyone left, there seemed to be shadows swaying in the dark forest, and the wind was gusting. Malfoy shivered alone and hurried to leave here. Chapter 46 How could I be the savior? According to Malfoy's character, he could have escaped to the dormitory and had a good rest. It was too dangerous. Malfoy's father was one of the directors of the entire Hogwarts. Such a super-rich second generation actually worked as a servant in the school and almost encountered danger. If Malfoy's father held him accountable and put pressure on him because of this incident, not only would Hagrid be punished, which would be detrimental to protecting his son as a director, but also the principal Dumbledore and the vice principal Professor McGonagall would have to explain to the board of directors. But Malfoy actually waited outside the dark forest with Fang, just because he was still worried about the beautiful Miss Hermione. Before Malfoy ran away, he looked back at Hermione. At that time, Hermione was so beautiful and desolate, with perfect facial features, white skin, petite body, and the wind gently blowing her long hair. At that moment, Malfoy seemed to be a heartless man who abandoned his beloved Miss Hermione in order to save his own life. Damn it, Malfoy was very tangled in his heart. After all, they fell in love at first sight at the beginning of the school, and they have been together for several months. Although Miss Hermione is hot and cold towards him, Malfoy did receive the green hat gift from Miss Hermione. Malfoy, who is still wearing the green hat at this moment, feels that the hat is hot. He should not have any guilt. If he can survive, even if Hagrid, Harry and Ron are torn into pieces, Malfoy will not frown. He is not a good person. But Malfoy is not a machine. There are still some things in his heart that he cares about, such as being a superior person, such as honor and respect, such as Miss Hermione. Malfoy himself didn't know that when the danger came, he left Miss Hermione behind and looked at the loss in her eyes. He would be so heartbroken, he would care so much. Therefore, Malfoy would be willing to wait here, waiting for a miracle. Although Miss Hermione didn't say a word to him after coming out, he was relieved to see that Miss Hermione was intact. He himself didn't know that he was supposed to be a villain, but at this moment, he was still hiding a heart of a liquor. "Dear, I'm on for drip. I miss you this night." Harry looked at Hermione, who didn't say a word. At this moment, Ron hadn't caught up with him because he had scolded and ridiculed Malfoy. Harry thought of the uncharacteristic behavior of Miss Hermione when they were in danger just now. This situation is not the first time. The first time was when the troll attacked the girls' bathroom. When Harry rushed in, he clearly saw Hermione's cold and cruel momentum. But in an instant, Hermione was acting. Even the smart Harry always suspected that if he and Ron had rushed into the girls' bathroom later that night, the troll would have been killed. Tonight, Hermione faced the terrible Voldemort, and even Harry was so scared that his legs trembled. In the original play, Harry fell to the ground and kept backing away. Although Harry here is better, he was also scared to stand still. However, Hermione, who usually looks timid and doesn't want to offend anyone, was out of character. At that moment, her whole body was cold, as if she had suddenly changed into a different person. She shouted a look without hesitation. "I thought it was a very powerful magic, but I didn't expect it to be a strong flashlight." Although it was a little funny afterwards, it did successfully stop Voldemort for a few seconds, precious seconds, and waited for the support of the Centaur Firenze, and Hagrid and Ron also came later. "Thank you, Hermione." Harry thanked Hermione. Hermione was afraid that Harry would misunderstand, so she explained, "You're welcome. I was also scared at the time. I subconsciously used the flashlight to scare Voldemort away. I learned so much magic, I was so scared that I forgot everything at the time." It's not like that. When danger came, Hermione's second personality, her brain was like a supercomputer, and the surrounding sound, air, and scene were all slowing down. In order not to offend Voldemort and not to arouse Voldemort's suspicion, Hermione did not use any magic. While protecting Harry and herself, she was able to hide her strength, so she used the flashlight to scare Voldemort away. But even so, afterwards, Hermione still regretted it very much. She shouldn't have taken action. At most, she would have fallen to the ground in a mess, and kept crawling backwards to avoid it, waiting for the rescue of the Centaur Firenze and Hagrid, so that she didn't need to show any performance in front of Voldemort. But, at that time, Hermione's blood was boiling, and she felt that she was the savior. Even if everyone ran away and fell down, as the savior, Hermione, even if she was shattered to pieces, even if her soul was broken, she couldn't fall down. Even if she only had consciousness left, she would not surrender and fight to the end. Afterwards, Hermione felt that she was crazy. She was usually such a timid and afraid person. How could she be the savior? "You are kidding." Ron chased after her and asked, "What are you talking about?" Hermione said, "Nothing." Harry also knew Hermione's character to some extent. She was a person who was extremely afraid of trouble. Although Harry had never actively pursued Hermione, among the people around him, Harry knew Hermione best. When they first met, Harry thought Hermione hated pets, but later he realized that Hermione was afraid of trouble. She liked pets, but just didn't want to take care of them. But Hermione didn't take the initiative to explain this little detail, and Ron and Malfoy still didn't know it. They still firmly believed that Hermione hated small animals. So, Harry changed the subject and said, "Now we know that Voldemort is near Hogwarts, and Hagrid will definitely tell Headmaster Dumbledore about Voldemort killing the unicorn tonight. According to our previous speculation, Professor Snape is Voldemort's Death Eater. He wants to steal the Philosopher's Stone in order to resurrect Voldemort." Ron also said seriously, "So, the Philosopher's Stone in the restricted corridor on the 4th floor is very unsafe now, because the person who gave Mr. Hagrid the dragon egg already knows the weakness of the three-headed dog, which is that it will fall asleep when it hears music." Hermione didn't say anything, and no system options popped up. She didn't want to get involved in this matter. So, we have to protect the Philosopher's Stone from being stolen by Voldemort and Professor Snape. But how could the system options let Hermione go? 3 options suddenly popped up in front of her. Option 1. Tell Harry and Ron the truth. Professor Quirrell is actually Voldemort's accomplice. Complete the task and get a box of embroidery needles as a reward. Option 2. Suggest going to bed. It's late, we can talk about it tomorrow if there's anything. Complete the task and get a set of comfortable pajamas as a reward. Option 3. Give a suggestion. Sneak into the restricted corridor on the 4th floor now. Complete the task and get a basic attribute +2. Damn, +2 again. Is this seeking wealth and honor in danger? Miss Hermione hesitated for a few seconds, and she added the basic attribute +1 she just got to strength. Accumulated, strength +6. I don't know why she wants to add strength now. Maybe she's young and her body hasn't grown yet. Or maybe Hermione is a girl and has little strength, so she wants to add a little more strength in the face of danger. Well, Hermione whispered, do you think that Voldemort dared to bite even unicorns to death? Will he take advantage of the situation and go to the restricted corridor on the 4th floor to steal the Philosopher's Stone? To be honest, even if Voldemort went to steal the Philosopher's Stone, Hermione didn't want to face it alone, but the basic attribute +2 is too tempting. At worst, I can use the flashlight to poke his eyes again. This time I won't say A-League, but Tabba. Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. Chapter 47 Nightmare Strikes. It was late at night, and it was the darkest time of the day, and people were in a place like Hogwarts. Harry and Ron were shocked by Hermione's suggestion. Hermione makes sense. If Voldemort steals the Philosopher's Stone at this time, it will be hard to prevent. Go and have a look. It was Miss Hermione who proposed it, but she was unwilling to do it. In the quiet Hogwarts castle, 3 little guys were running inside, and their footsteps were heard far away on both sides of the corridor. If they were caught by the janitor Filch at this time, they would probably end up in a miserable situation. The worst outcome is expulsion. Fortunately, they didn't encounter it. The restricted corridor on the 4th floor. Last time, I accidentally approached here because of the spiral staircase, and I didn't look closely at the surrounding situation. But this time was different. Although the 3 were nervous, they were afraid that Voldemort would steal the Philosopher's Stone, so they observed it carefully. This is not only a restricted area of the school, but even the sculptures placed around are like evil spirits. Terrifying. Ron had to say, I think we are really brave to come to such a place on our own initiative. Hermione's optional task was not yet completed, so she said, Ron, keep your voice down. Ron showed a bitter expression. When they came to a special door, it was difficult to open it from the outside without using magic. Ron took out his wand and wanted to try to use the hole opening spell, but then he thought of Hermione's instructions, and his magic was not as perfect as Hermione's. Although Hermione was born a commoner in the original play, she was smart and tried hard to prove herself, so she studied very hard. Hermione here also worked hard out of habit. Before she crossed over, she had excellent academic performance in the real world. Here, in order to survive better, of course, she couldn't slack off. Ron glanced at Hermione and took the initiative to step aside. Hermione coughed, took out her wand, and recited the spell skillfully, which made people feel distressed. With a bang, the door opened. A wave of heat with the breath of a beast surged out from inside. Harry. Ron called Harry's name softly. At this time, Hermione's system prompted, congratulations on completing option 3, reward basic attribute +2. Hermione can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Added to strength. Accumulated, strength +8. Harry stepped forward and carefully pushed open the door. Suddenly, 3 terrifying dog heads stretched out directly, almost close at hand, and then a howling sound, unlike the barking of dogs, came directly to the ears. Close the door quickly. The 3-headed dog was not asleep, which meant that Voldemort had not come yet. The 3 little guys were terrified. Let's run. Even if the door was closed, the 3-headed dog's barking made a lot of noise. Sooner or later, someone would come to check here, and it was definitely not advisable to stay here for a long time. After running back to the Gryffindor common room with great difficulty, the three of them sat on the sofa panting. It was really too dangerous just now. You may not have seen that the three-headed dog's saliva was about to hit my face. Ron was still in shock. Hermione brought out the lines she had said at the beginning and said them again. If you don't mind, I'm going to sleep. Otherwise, you don't know who will come up with some trick to get herself killed, or worse, get expelled. Ron looked at Hermione's back as she went back to the girls' dormitory, and said with a strange expression, she really should think it over. Which is worse, getting killed or getting expelled, huh? Wait, why does this scene feel familiar? Harry smiled. He gradually understood Hermione's style. She always stood behind the incident and completely distanced herself from it, even if it was abrupt and incomprehensible. It's late, let's go to bed too, Harry said and went back to the boys' dormitory to sleep. So many things happened tonight, and he was really tired. Ron was full of questions. Why are these two people so strange? Did the horrible thing that just happened only affect me? I don't know if it was too late, and I didn't have time to take a shower and go to bed. Hermione, who loves cleanliness, felt uncomfortable all over when she slept, and finally fell asleep. The nightmare came by surprise. This was the first nightmare Hermione had when she first traveled to another world. The nightmare was so real that Hermione had no idea that this was a nightmare world. She found herself alone in a dark forest, with unicorn corpses piled up everywhere, some of which had even begun to rot. It was simply a hell on earth. Suddenly, a black cloak floated over at a very fast speed. In the nightmare, Hermione was extremely weak, timid, and without magic. She could only watch the black cloak approach, and then reveal a terrifying and distorted human face. It was Voldemort. Hermione was awakened by the shock. Her whole body was covered in cold sweat, and on her crystal-clear skin, it was like small pearls. It was already early morning, and the girls in the dormitory were still sleeping in. Only Hermione was awake. She took out the mirror with a little fear, wanting to see if she had heavy dark circles under her eyes. Suddenly, what appeared in the mirror was Voldemort's terrifying face. Hermione was so scared that she quickly threw the mirror away. At this time, Hermione realized it belatedly. That's right, she was still in the nightmare. She didn't wake up at all. Helpless, scared, terrified. It was this familiar and terrifying nightmare that made Hermione always timid and cautious. Hermione covered her head, and didn't know how long she had been in the torture of the nightmare. Finally, a gentle breeze blew and truly woke Hermione up. At this time, Hermione opened her tortured eyes. It was the wind. There was no wind in the nightmare. She could finally be sure that she had really woken up from the nightmare. The girls in the dormitory got up and dressed to prepare for today's class. They chatted. Why did Hermione get up so late today? I don't know. When I went to the bathroom last night, I saw that Hermione's bed was empty. Hermione, do you have a cold? Hermione heard their concern and sat up tremblingly. However, the next moment she was so scared that her heart almost stopped. She saw that all her roommates had turned into skeletons, wearing black cloaks, with Voldemort's terrifying face inside the cloaks, and the silver blood of unicorns kept flowing on their bodies. But they kept making the voice of a girl. Hermione knew that she was still trapped in a nightmare, and in the magic world, nightmares are even more real and terrifying. Who will save me? Hermione huddled up in the nightmare. She covered her ears, closed her eyes, and dared not open them again. She didn't know how long the nightmare would torture her. She only knew that she shouldn't have used the flashlight to fight Voldemort head-on tonight, so she suffered such a punishment. She should be more careful in the future. No one can save her. In the nightmare, the only one who can save Hermione is herself. She herself has not yet discovered that when a person is extremely afraid and she has no way to retreat, she will turn into fear. In the nightmare, Hermione's eyes began to turn red. Black mist emanated from her body, and demonic horns began to grow on her head. The next day, although Hermione was the last one to fall asleep last night, but she was the first to wake up in the morning. After Hermione woke up, she was still in a trance, not knowing whether she was in a nightmare or had woken up, until the funny system option suddenly popped up. Hermione's whole injured heart was instantly healed. Option 1. Wash your face and brush your teeth to start a new day. A cup of delicious soy milk will be rewarded for completing the task. Option 2. Beat the gongs and drums to help roommates develop the habit of getting up early. A small red flower will be rewarded for completing the task. Option 3. Write a letter to forgive Malfoy for abandoning you last night. A fine fountain pen will be rewarded for completing the task. Chapter 48. The nest is tender. It would be interesting if the system option pop-up window could enter a terrible nightmare. Hermione laughed at herself. If it were an ordinary person, after being treated like this in nightmares, he would probably be restless the whole day the next day, and even collapse and go to a mental hospital at any time. But Hermione has been tortured since she was a child. She is isolated and helpless in nightmares, and she is afraid and uncomfortable. After waking up, she has long been able to accept these things calmly and skillfully. Looking at the sunshine outside the window, the birds are singing happily. No matter how hard life is, life must go on. Get up, fold the quilt, wash up, come back and simply dress up. Very good. There are no dark circles in the mirror. The skin is still smooth, firm and rosy, and there is no blood in the eyeballs. The whole pupil seems to be the most beautiful and transparent gem amber in the world. Although Hermione is a girl, she is obsessed with her beauty. Sure enough, sister is the most beautiful woman in the world. Then Hermione started to go to class. As soon as she opened the door, she felt something on her feet. It was a big lump. A familiar feeling suddenly came to her mind. Hermione's good luck came again, and she picked up quite a lot of money this time. Although she was tortured by the nightmare last night, she didn't want to pick up the money that seemed to be asking for her life, but she had to pick it up. If she didn't pick it up, she didn't know when the money would suddenly appear in her pocket. Instead of facing the unknown, it's better to take the initiative to welcome it. So Hermione squatted down, and she was so skilled that no one around noticed that she was picking up money. Let's go to a big meal today, and have delicious soy milk by the way. That's right, Hermione chose soy milk for the first option task in the morning. Let Hermione write a letter to Malfoy to forgive him, and he will never think about it in this life. The Great Hall, here is full of people. What people who work hard must do every day is to enjoy delicious food. If you have money, of course you can live a luxurious life, and if you don't have money, you can eat simply. Hermione will not treat herself badly. Anyway, she can add points to her basic attributes, so she doesn't have to worry about her figure, so she can eat as much as she wants. Harry and Ron also got up early today. Ron yawned and told Harry that he had a nightmare last night. He dreamed that he was torn to pieces by a three-headed dog, and even his bones were chewed up. Harry said, "You are really miserable." Harry also had a dream, but it was not a nightmare. He dreamed of his parents. Because he had been living under the care of others since he was a child, he was not happy living in his aunt's house and never felt warmth. Although he came to Hogwarts and experienced many dangerous things, perhaps the school was where Harry's parents went to school, met, and finally had Harry. Harry would feel that Hogwarts is his home, and he likes it here very much. Good morning, Hermione. Ron saw the stunning little Hermione in the crowd at a glance, and ran over to greet him. Good morning. Although Hermione was not particularly energetic, she was not listless either. Ron was surprised to see the dazzling array of food in front of Hermione. Hermione, why do you eat so much by yourself? Hermione rolled her eyes and said, "It's none of your business. I'm still growing up. Is there anything wrong with eating more?" Ron smiled awkwardly. No problem. No problem. Ron also found that the soy milk Hermione drank seemed to be something he had never seen before. What are you drinking? Don't mind. Hermione didn't want to explain to Ron. There were also cola and spicy strips in her space ring. Did Hermione have to take them out to explain? Harry smiled and didn't say anything. After serving the food, the three of them seemed to deliberately not mention what happened last night. It was a rare good day today. Whether it was the three-headed dog in the restricted area or the terrifying Voldemort in the morning, it was a very depressing thing. Although the three righteous children wanted to protect the Philosopher's Stone and become the savior, however, they also had their own lives and things to do. After 2 classes in the morning, the three of them gathered together again, and of course they had to mention the Philosopher's Stone in a restricted area at this time. Harry said worriedly. We can't guard the restricted area 24 hours a day. If Voldemort steals the Philosopher's Stone while we are in class, we won't know it at all. Hermione combined the story in the original play and answered, there are more people during the day, and there is also Headmaster Dumbledore and many professors. Voldemort has become so poor that he needs to drink unicorn blood to prolong his life. He shouldn't dare to steal the Philosopher's Stone in broad daylight. Bad guys usually act at night. Ron thought without thinking. I think what Hermione said makes sense. Harry also thought about it and nodded. It was impossible for them to guard the restricted area all the time. They were in the light and Voldemort was in the dark, which was really troublesome. In the original play, because it was gradual, the secret was revealed little by little. It was not until the end of the semester that Harry and others knew that Voldemort's target was the Philosopher's Stone. On this side, although Hermione has been hiding herself and being cautious in her words and deeds, but more or less, she still guided and reminded Harry and Ron, allowing them to know Voldemort's secret earlier than in the original play. This led to anxiety in advance. Fortunately, at this time, the system options gave the answer in time. Option 1. Tell Harry and Ron not to worry too much. If Professor Snape is a Death Eater, then we just need to keep an eye on him. Complete the task and reward basic attribute +1. Option 2. Directly expose Professor Quirrell as Voldemort's temporary Horcrux. Complete the task and reward 1 mask. Option 3. Silence is golden. Either explode in silence or die in silence. Complete the task and reward 1 chainsaw. Hermione fell into thinking. Option 2 is undoubtedly the most unreliable one, because Hermione knows that Voldemort has many Horcruxes. Even without Professor Quirrell, he will definitely come back. By then, Hermione will become a thorn in Voldemort's eyes and a thorn in his flesh. That horror will not be as simple as a nightmare. Nightmares will eventually wake up. Being targeted by Voldemort will not be. Therefore, only options 1 and 3 are relatively reliable, especially option 3. Silence is more in line with Hermione's original character. She is very afraid of trouble and getting into trouble. The serial nightmares last night were a warning to her. However, the reward for option 3 is really confusing. Chainsaw. Is it to let Hermione be Baldy-Kying and go to the forest to cut wood, or let Hermione roleplay Saw? After thinking about it, it is better to choose one. Only by continuing to throw dirty water on Professor Snape can Hermione's stupidity be highlighted, and at the same time, it can also allow Harry and Ron to shift their targets. Don't always stare at Voldemort and the Philosopher's Stone, just stare at Professor Snape. Hermione organized her words in her mind, then coughed and said, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it or not. Ron said quickly, Hermione, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. It doesn't matter if you say it. Seeing Ron's silly look, Hermione suddenly had an idea and said, I'm so stupid. Harry and Ron were dumbfounded at the time. Confusion flickered in Harry's pupils behind his glasses. Hermione, what are you talking about? Lady Hermione smiled shyly. Nothing. I just suddenly thought of a spell. Let's get back to the topic. In fact, we don't have to keep worrying about when Voldemort will go to the restricted area to steal the Philosopher's Stone. Think back. Who did we suspect at first? Ron immediately learned to answer the question and raised his hand to speak. I know. It's Professor Snape, Hermione said. That's right, so I infer that if Voldemort really wants to get the Philosopher's Stone, he must go through Professor Snape, and we just need to sit back and wait, and keep an eye on Professor Snape. Please support the new book. Thank you everyone. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Sending Malfoy a bag of spicy noodles. Although Hermione usually keeps a low profile and does not show off her talents, she was extremely smart to throw dirty water on Professor Snape at this moment, which immediately made Harry and Ron feel enlightened. Hermione, you are still smarter. Why didn't we think of it? Hermione immediately said modestly. No, You are just confused by the situation. When you come to your senses, you will think of it. Ron also began to express his opinion. Let's start making a plan. On the 1st, 3rd, and 5th, I will supervise Professor Snape. On the 2nd, 4th, and 6th, Harry will supervise Professor Snape. On Sunday, Hermione, Harry and I will supervise together. What do you think? Hermione saw that her task was the smallest and won her heart, so she agreed. I think it's okay. Harry did not object and nodded. At this point, Hermione's system prompted, "Congratulations on completing the Option 1 task. Reward basic attribute +1. Hermione added strength without hesitation. Accumulated, strength +9. Hermione can already clearly feel that her strength is definitely greater than that of girls of the same age. If there is an arm wrestling competition for peers, Miss Hermione may be the first among the first-year girls. After successfully identifying Professor Snape as the biggest suspect in stealing the Philosopher's Stone, in the following time, Professor Snape found that he could always run into Harry, Ron and the other 3 kids intentionally or unintentionally, whether he was eating or going to the toilet. What are they doing? Professor Snape has not yet realized that he has been splashed with dirty water by Hermione to the point that he is more suspicious than in the original play. All he needs is evidence. A few days later, Christmas arrived. On December 25th, Hogwarts was covered with heavy snow. It was a bit cold, but very beautiful. Countless students and teachers were immersed in the festive atmosphere. After today, the last semester will be over, and after a period of vacation, the next semester will begin. In the original play and the movie, it was almost swept away. Hermione, who traveled through time, does not have this ability. She has to live honestly every day, every hour, every minute and every second. However, Hermione's life is also very exciting. Whether it was picking up money every now and then, or triggering the system option of looking every day, and Voldemort hadn't appeared recently, etc., life was quite comfortable. In the original series, Hermione was going home for Christmas, and in the movie, she said goodbye to Harry and Ron. At that time, they were playing wizard chess. Because the speed of solving cases in the original series was slow, in the movie, Hermione left a clue for Harry and Ron before leaving, which was to find Nicholas Flamel, the owner of the Philosopher's Stone. And here, they already knew it. Not only that, Hermione also successfully shifted the direction to Professor Snape. The result of this was that Professor Quirrell was still hiding in the dark, and he didn't realize that the beautiful Hermione was his biggest threat. In Professor Quirrell's eyes, these 3 little guys who followed and supervised Professor Snape at every turn were simply stupid to the extreme. But Professor Quirrell didn't do it. He waited for a suitable opportunity. Here, Hermione, who traveled through time, was still hesitating whether to go home. It always felt dangerous to stay in Hogwarts, but if she went back, she would have to take a train and travel a long distance. She felt it was very troublesome to come back next semester. She decided to let the system option give Hermione the answer. On this day, countless students were still immersed in the festive atmosphere. Some stayed like Harry, and some went home. Everyone also exchanged gifts with each other. Since Malfoy escaped alone in the Dark Forest last time, he seemed to feel guilty and was not as domineering to Hermione as before. But on Christmas Day, he still prepared a lot of gifts. Compared with the first time he gave gifts, this time he was much more attentive. Malfoy also knew what Hermione liked, and gave her things that Hermione liked. The system option did not surprise her, and a dialog box popped up. Option 1. Accept Malfoy's gift, say thank you, and reward 1 Santa Claus doll. Option 2. Accept Malfoy's gift and send back a meaningful gift, reward basic attribute +1. Option 3. Reject Malfoy's gift, and yell at him to get out, and complete the task to reward 1 hammer. Hermione looked at Malfoy's face and hesitated for a while. Malfoy had not approached Hermione on purpose for a while, and thought he had become immune to Hermione's beauty. He had never expected Hermione's eyes to be so beautiful. At this moment, when he looked at Malfoy a few more times from a close distance, Malfoy's heartbeat accelerated, and Xiaphai's cheeks turned red. Just when Malfoy was a little nervous and ready to say something, Hermione said, "Okay, I'll accept it with reluctance, but I'll give you one too." Hermione felt that it was too difficult to find another gift as meaningful as the green hat, but for the sake of the system options, Hermione still tried her best to pick it out. For example, Miss Hermione had always treasured the spicy strips that she had never tasted. On Christmas Day, Malfoy took the spicy strips that Miss Hermione sent back, the hot and passionate color, the special smell that filled the nose, and the long strip shape that made people unable to ignore it. Of course, Malfoy had never seen it before. "Hermione, what is this?" Hermione was a little anxious when she saw that the system did not prompt her to complete the task. "What's wrong? Are spicy strips not as good as green hats? Try it." Hermione smiled, and Malfoy felt overjoyed. It was a bit cold, but his whole body was boiling. Okay, because of his love for the little goddess, even if it was a big man drinking medicine, Malfoy would drink it without hesitation. Malfoy unpacked it clumsily, thinking in his mind, "Is this a new snack in the Wizarding World?" In the Wizarding World, there are so many strange snacks, such as Bibiduo strange beans, a kind of candy that can taste all kinds of strange flavors, including vomit, earwax, smelly socks, and of course apple strawberry. There are also chocolate frogs and sour lollipops. There is also a kind of candy that can imitate the sounds of different animals when eaten. In the later part of the original play, Harry ate one, and his ears were smoking like a train. Malfoy is a nobleman and never eats such messy snacks. But for Ms. Hermione, Malfoy took out a spicy strip with a distorted expression and closed his eyes and ate it. Just chewed it twice. Malfoy's face immediately turned red. Then he said, "Very spicy, very spicy." Hermione smiled and said, "How does it taste?" Malfoy said with an abstract expression, "Not bad." Hermione said, "If you think it's good, eat more." "I usually don't want to eat it." Malfoy had a sad face. Since the last time in the Dark Forest, the two had not talked so closely. Malfoy usually doesn't eat spicy food, but it's rare that he can reconcile with Miss Hermione, so he still endured the pain and ate it directly. When Malfoy finished eating, not only was his handsome face flushed, but even his eyes were red, and beads of sweat covered his forehead. At this time, Hermione heard the system's prompt, "Congratulations on completing the Option 2 task, reward basic attributes +1. Then she said with satisfaction, "Okay, you have eaten my gift too. We don't owe each other anything. Bye." After that, Hermione left with a lot of Christmas gifts from Malfoy. When she turned the corner, Hermione directly put the gifts into the space ring. Chapter 50, Female Stars in the Magic World. Malfoy looked at Hermione's elegant and sweet back. Just now, he was enduring the hot and painful feeling and pretending to be handsome. As a noble, he couldn't lose his gentlemanly manners in front of his favorite goddess. But as soon as Hermione left, Malfoy immediately jumped on the spot and looked for water everywhere without any image. Malfoy had never eaten so much spicy food at one time in his life. His body couldn't bear it at all. The burning sensation in his stomach made him want to vomit. Boss, what's wrong with you?" Malfoy's two younger brothers Crabbe and Goyle came. This was the first time they saw Malfoy so embarrassed in a semester. His originally handsome hair was soaked with sweat, his face was red, as if he was poisoned, and his mouth was unclear. Malfoy didn't care about his image in front of his subordinates, and said directly, "Water, water, go find me some water." Miss Hermione knew that she was naturally beautiful, but she also added so many basic attributes to be low-key. Unexpectedly, she would receive so many gifts on Christmas. Other girls only have one or a few, but Hermione has a lot of them, some signed, some not, some given in person, and some sent by Hermione's roommate behind her back. The whole dormitory is almost full, and you can open a small shop with all the gifts. The female roommates are all envious. "Hermione, you are so popular in school. You are simply a female star in the magic world." In the Muggle world, it is normal to chase stars, especially handsome male and female stars, even female and male internet celebrities. On birthdays and holidays, they will receive countless gifts. But in the magic world, this kind of thing is still relatively rare. With Hermione's personality that everyone loves and flowers bloom, coupled with her unparalleled beauty, perhaps she can set a precedent and become a female star in the magic world. Although it is exciting to think about it, as a beautiful girl, of course she still has vanity in her heart, and it is so cool to have countless fans who like to pamper her. However, because she is timid and cautious, Hermione will certainly not do this. Hermione was not the kind of person who would not return gifts. For gifts with signatures, Hermione took some small gifts and returned them one by one. Reciprocity is the way of life. For gifts without signatures, Hermione had no choice. She couldn't just turn into Sherlock Holmes to solve the case and then return the gifts. When Harry and Ron came to give Hermione gifts, they were stunned by the piles of gift boxes in front of them. Hermione, I know you are very popular, but I didn't expect you to be so popular. Ron felt sour. In the original play, Hermione was obviously his future wife, but the Hermione who traveled through time here was so outstanding that Ron could not reach the level of her first grade. Hermione had a good personality. She didn't show off because she was beautiful. She didn't ignore others because she was popular. She smiled and said, "Christmas is a rare holiday. Only when people give gifts to each other can we have a festive atmosphere." Then Hermione took out 2 prepared gifts and gave them to Ron and Harry, saying, "This is my gift to you. Open it and take a look." Ron was very excited. Harry was not polite. After opening it, Harry received a pair of new glasses, very exquisite. Harry said happily, "Hermione, I like your gift very much." Ron received a new piece of clothing. Ron was excited to put it on immediately. It fit him very well. Of course, it was not green this time. "Hermione, you gave me such a beautiful piece of clothing. I am so touched that I don't know what to say," Hermione said bluntly. "In Hogwarts, we have the best relationship. Don't be too polite." Ron really wanted to hug Hermione and kiss her. Hermione, who was beautiful and considerate, was so likable. Today was a rare holiday. Hermione did not deliberately say harsh words to alienate them. Her true feelings were revealed. Hermione had a good personality. If she hadn't been so low-key, she would be more popular. People will find something precious when they lack it. Ron didn't have much money. He saved for a long time and bought Hermione a relatively expensive piece of jewelry. Although Malfoy had given many such gifts, Hermione didn't usually wear jewelry. She slept in the space ring. But today was a rare happy day. In front of Ron, Hermione put on the necklace he gave her. On her flawless white neck, the charming little collarbone, the naughty hair, the slightly developed figure, matched with the necklace Ron gave her. She looked very beautiful. "Hermione, you are so beautiful," Hermione said bluntly. "I don't want to be too high profile. I will wear it for one day today, and I will put it away tomorrow." Yeah, Ron was very happy to see that Hermione could wear the expensive gift he had saved for so long for one day. Because they were often together, Ron certainly knew that Malfoy had given Hermione many expensive gifts, but Hermione had never worn them once. In this comparison, it shows that Ron is still much better than Malfoy in Hermione's mind. Harry's gift was also quite thoughtful. It was a cake with Hermione's favorite flavor. Although Harry was a straight man, he was one of the few boys in the school who did not directly express his possessiveness to Hermione. But Harry knew Hermione very well, and the gift he gave was also the most practical and most in line with Hermione's heart. Hermione ate it directly in front of Harry. As she enjoyed the food, her big watery eyes curved into a beautiful crescent shape, and there was cream on the corners of her mouth. Harry knew that Hermione was very beautiful, several times more beautiful than in the original drama. But at this moment, Hermione still made Harry's heart beat for a moment, and Harry couldn't help but reach out to help Hermione wipe the cream off the corners of her mouth. Hermione's skin was smooth and tender, and when Harry touched the corners of Hermione's mouth, he realized that his subconscious behavior was a bit strange. However, at this point, Harry could only wipe it off awkwardly and act more naturally. Hermione didn't care. She knew that Harry was different from other boys. Her beauty would not make him lose himself. He just regarded her as his best friend. But Ron on the side was a little jealous. Harry would not be like this normally, but he didn't say much. They were all children, and they wouldn't have as many complicated emotions as adults. When Hermione returned the gifts one by one, it was already very late, and she was tired and her back ached. Today was a rare holiday. Hermione let down her guard, and seemed approachable and lovely. Ron was also deeply fascinated by Hermione. He volunteered, "Hermione, let me massage your shoulders and back." Hermione blushed slightly, turned sideways and said coquettishly, "You wish, don't touch me." Ron touched his nose awkwardly. Although Hermione is approachable and gentle, she doesn't like others to touch her, especially boys. In the evening, more than half of the people in the school have been gone, and many students have taken the train home. Hermione finally stayed because of the system option. Harry and Ron did not go home either, and both stayed in school. On the one hand, they did not want to go home, and on the other hand, they had to supervise Professor Snape to prevent him from stealing the Philosopher's Stone in the restricted corridor. The three little guys can be said to be the patron saints of Hogwarts. Hermione had been busy all day, and when she was about to go back to the dormitory to rest, the system suddenly popped up some strange options. Option 1. Pull Harry and Ron and ask them to teach her wizard chess. Complete the task and get a bottle of sleeping pills as a reward. Option 2. Propose a sleepless Christmas night, staying up all night until dawn. Complete the task and get a pocket watch as a reward. Option 3. Send some food to the three-headed dog in the restricted corridor, and get a stainless steel wash basin as a reward. Please support my new book. Thank you everyone. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.